All right, meeting is now recorded.
All right, let's call the meeting to order at 10:04 a.m. We'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the
To the
flag
flag
of
of the United States of America
and to the
and to the
republic
republic for which it stands,
one nation under God,
God, indivisible,
with
with
liberty
and justice for all.
A little bit of a delay there. Okay, Pam, if you could read the roll call, please.
Okay, Mike, obviously, Stan Weiner,
Here.
Dolores Schlicker. Here. Dan O'Connor,
Here.
Kathleen Vishunas,
Here.
Roland Lynch.
Here.
Okay, and then myself. Stephanie, has she been yet?
Stephanie said that she would not be able to attend.
She
due to
cannot
conflict.
attend.
Right.
Okay, all right, all right. So-
The person wishing to address the board from Edward Jones cannot be here till 10:15.
Okay,
So
all right, so we have somebody listed for public comment or for persons wishing to address the board. We're going to delay that till about 10:15.
Okay.
Public comment, is there anybody on that would wish to address the board with a 3-minute limit and no interaction from the board? Is there anyone who wishes to address the board?
But they can come in, though. I was asking Lenny, my sister-in-law wants to come and
Yeah.
talk, so she can come in and talk
we will,
without prior approval.
right,
Okay,
Yes, there's a 3-minute time limit on public comment and no interaction from the board.
but if she
Okay.
gets prior approval, she can do what's called like a presentation.
Right.
And then the board can interact with it.
Yes,
shouldn't we have public comment at the end of the meeting also? Because what happens if,
Yes.
something we discuss, they want to comment on it?
yes, it's not on the agenda, but
We can add
Yeah,
that. We
certainly.
Just make a note on that.
it is supposed to be there.
And you don't have approved the agenda on the thing?
No, I guess they didn't put it on there. So let's do that right now. Are there any additions to the current agenda or deletions or changes?
Well, in the minutes for the last meeting, it said you tabled an item, Ethos and Molnar bids, et cetera.
Okay,
So you have to address that, I believe.
all right, that will be under old business.
And I would also like a few minutes to address the board.
Okay.
I don't know where you want to put me.
You stay there. You can stay there.
Okay.
Should
Yeah.
that be under closed meeting? though?
No,
No, not really. I mean, it's, when would you like to address the board, Kathleen? I mean, I don't care one way or the other where you go in here.
She can go now if she wants.
Yeah, if you want to go now, you're more than welcome to go now.
oh, well, we got to approve.
We got to approve the minutes for, or the
Yeah,
agenda. first.
Agenda,
Okay,
approve
so
agenda.
we will add, it's been asked to add Kathleen to the agenda. And under old business, the ethos and was it Molnar?
They got up with the minutes then.
Yeah, and then we also have to put the minutes, well, the minutes is up there, approved March 2021. Okay, and then we're changing the Sheila from Edward Jones till later in the meeting. Are there any other changes, additions, deletions? I would entertain a
I
motion
don't
to,
have a.
yeah. Oh, you don't have an agenda? I'm sorry.
Neither do I.
I just got mine today.
Thank you.
Everyone have one.
No.
Kathleen doesn't
I
have one?
don't, I don't, but I'll get one tomorrow.
Okay. All right, any,
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda with the changes.
okay. Do we have a second?
Second,
All right, been properly moved and seconded. Do we have any discussion? Any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, all in favor, aye.
I,
All opposed, nay. That is approved. Okay, Kathleen, when would you like to go?
Oh, you got in your minutes.
Well, we'll do the minutes, but I need to know where you want to go.
I can do it after the minutes.
Okay, sounds good. All right, so has everyone had a chance to read the minutes from March 21?
Third.
23, yeah.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you, Kathy.
Oh, it says 23 on the minutes.
Yeah, 23rd.
Yeah,
No, I meant March 2021.
Okay.
Yeah, March 23rd.
I didn't catch that.
No problem. I deleted the 20 part and just said 21.
I think our minutes is way too involved, way too many words.
Okay, well, let's hold off on a discussion on that. Let's stick with approving what we have, and then we can have a discussion about what we want in the minutes. Okay, so does anyone have any corrections, additions, deletions on the minutes?
Well, I suggest on roll call, instead of, by Dan O'Connor, instead of did not attend, it should just be absent.
Absent, okay.
And then farther down, you've got everybody's names, but at Stevenson and Company, you just have the company instead of Cindy Scott. That was the auditor that was present.
Yep,
oh, I see, yeah.
yep, you're correct there.
And same thing on the next page, the top paragraph, second line.
They just stuck together, okay.
Okay, and then,
Okay.
third page at the end, the second last paragraph, it said at 1 PM, Roland made a motion for the meeting to be adjourned. Stan seconded, all ayes. Well, all assumes that you've got a full board, but you only had 5 people, so you should say 2 were absent.
Okay. You get that, Pam?
Yeah,
Okay. All right, any other changes, corrections, deletions on the minutes?
Well, I think maybe I'm wrong, but I think we're putting too much information in. Like Stephanie left the meeting, she had to get back to work. I don't think we need to know all that, do we?
You need to know she left.
We need, yeah, we do need to
We
know
need
she
to know
left.
she left,
Yeah.
but do we need to know why?
Not
and-
necessarily, no.
And
Is that
down here a ways it said she wanted to being a motion to make it clear. She objected to their meeting. She wanted to being a motion.
Where was that at? I'm sorry.
It's on the first page where I brought up that the Pacific vote made in the knitting
Yeah.
club
Right,
motion.
okay.
I hit E instead of R. It should have said bring,
Right, yeah.
So that was just a typo.
right.
Okay. All right. Okay. Okay, any other corrections, deletions, additions to the minutes? Hearing and seeing none, I would accept a motion to approve the minutes as amended.
Make motion.
Roland has made the motion. Do we have a
I'll
second?
second it.
Stan has seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, all in favor of approving the minutes as amended? Aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay.
Nay.
Minutes are approved. Thank you, Pam.
Thanks.
Okay. So let's see here, Kathleen.
I wrote some things down, so I don't have to talk this long. But I wanted to get all my points.
Is this the ethos Molnar thing?
No, Kathleen is going to address the board. She's currently handing out
Oh, okay.
information for us.
Save one for me, Kathleen.
I can't hand it through the TV.
I know. Just give it to Jesse. I'll grab it.
Okay. Everyone knows that I'm on the NIMSCA board, and I've been on it as a commissioner for 9 years. And I've also been on the, the private sector. And I was concerned because of issues that we've had, and I'm sure they're going to, probably come up again. So I read my board of directors for NIMSCA, their conflict of interest statement. And I addressed my concerns and questions with NEMSCA staff Karen Godey and Lori Sauer. The NEMSCA bylaws revised November 2, 2020 state, no board member, employee, officer, or agent of NEMSCA shall participate in the selection or in the award or administration of a contract supported by federal, state, or agency funds if a conflict of interest, real or apparent, would be involved. For purposes of this section, a conflict would arise when the board member, employee, officer, agent, or any member of his or her immediate family or an organization which employs or is about to employ any of the above has a financial or other interest in the firm selected for award. Officers, employees, board members, or agents will neither solicit nor accept gratuities, favors, or anything of monetary value from contractors, potential contractors, or parties to sub-agreements. Unsolicited gifts of nominal intrinsic value are accepted. Violation of the above standards is reason for immediate dismissal of an employee and or removal as a board member. In a conference call with Karen Godey and Lori Sauer, I was advised that when the annual senior services funding is presented to the NEMSCA board, that I must state that I am a member of the ACCOA board and not participate in the vote for funding. Once the NEMSCA funding is approved and forwarded to all ACCOA, it can only be used for the programs that NEMSCA has identified. And NEMSCA conducts its own audits, their own audits and assessments to ensure that NEMSCA funds are used properly. As an Alcona County property owner, it is my duty to ensure that millage money is properly used. I have demonstrated my commitment to the ACCOA and have attended each meeting since my appointment. In addition, I immediately took on the task of organizing and updating the 2018 ACCOA bylaws to ensure that the other two committee members have a clean draft document to work with. In addition, my extensive financial background will be an asset on the ACCOA Finance Committee. So I was a little bit concerned, so that's why I took my questions and my interests and my concerns to NEMSCA. And there are other NEMSCA board members that at the beginning of a meeting, if there's an agenda item that they have a conflict with, they must so identify it to the board and therefore they cannot vote. So, and the operative word, I guess, is here is that disclose conflicts.
Right.
So if anyone has any questions?
Does this mean that if we vote to give 3 staff a raise, that you can't vote on that?
No, once the money from NEMSCA comes here, I cannot vote at the NEMSCA level. For the
Right.
NEMSCA
Oh.
money to come down here, once it comes
Right,
down
right.
here,
Because there would be a
And then-
conflict for voting on
Oh,
funding for
okay.
ACCOA
Right.
and then spending.
Well, I think there could be a conflict both ways, though. Because, and, you know, we didn't know of a disclosure.
I can't hear you, Lenny.
We did not know of a disclosure when you first were seated on the committee. So we reached out after it was stated in public, to the public on the recording, that our auditor had a question because that needed to be disclosed for their purposes. So that information was not disclosed to us that there would be a conflict. Sitting on, let's say, for example, the Personnel and Finance Committee, you are actively making decisions that are affecting people with grant dollars that come from NEMSCA. I don't see how that's not a conflict of interest because you are then upstream and downstream. So to me, that still, to me, is a conflict of interest. I think there are some other things that we could talk about. We had wanted to talk to you privately about this matter and not do it in an open format. But, you know, the conflict of interest policy that we'll talk about later on today is so that ACCOA is protected from any type of outside interest other than just the interest of the community. And I agree, as people who are part of ACCOA, or people are part of this community, is the reason why we're getting a good amalgamation of the representation of the community. You know, so that's my feeling on the matter, is that it does raise some concerns. I did reach out to Lori Sauer. I did reach out to Dave Cook. And, you know, Lori can speak for herself, but, you know, Dave Cook also says that, yes, that could be seen as a conflict of interest. So our auditor said, yes, that could be seen as a conflict of interest.
Looks
Any-
like Gloria muted.
Oh, Lori, do you wish to speak?
I am unmuted, and yes, I am really not understanding where there is a view from ACCOA that Kathleen's presence on the NEMSCA board would be a conflict. We don't have any situations where the ACCOA would be making any funding decisions that would provide funding to NEMSCA. Now, her abstaining from votes where our NEMSCA board makes funding determinations for the senior center absolutely is a conflict. And she would have to abstain from those votes because there's a direct impact from our organization to the organization receiving the funding. There are no agreements going the other way. The decisions that she makes on your board are all related to local issues, not really anything related to NEMSCA. Now, perhaps if there was a decision that your board would make to take action against NEMSCA, then she would need to resign from our board, but not necessarily yours. So I'm not really understanding where a perception of that conflict that would require her to leave your board is necessarily coming from. Ultimately, what your bylaws say are the rules of the board to follow. So if there's something in your bylaws that make that an issue, that's something you might want to double check. I don't have your current bylaws in front of me, but I don't believe in previous versions I've ever seen anything related to that type of arrangement. We've had many times COA board members that have served on the NEMSCA board in the past. So I'm not clear where that perception is coming from. I respect your opinion, but I would respectfully disagree.
And according to your own bylaws, conflict of interest, page 4, members of the board shall avoid a conflict and or appearance of a conflict. Shall at a minimum include deliberating on, voting on, or reviewing bids, etc., concerning his or her spouse, children, stepchildren, grandchildren, parents, brothers, sisters, grandparents, etc. If there is a question about whether conflict exists or not, the question shall be put before the board. The existence of a conflict shall be determined by a majority vote. The board determines a conflict exists, and then I cannot participate in their decision or deliberation of the agenda items.
But I think you guys are, no one is saying that you cannot serve on the board. I'm just saying that to say that there isn't a conflict to me is not, I'm not saying that there is not a conflict. There is a conflict of interest. I'm not saying that you should be removed. I'm just saying that there are certain issues or committees that I think that you probably shouldn't sit on. I'm not saying that you should not be a member of the board. But that's my opinion. The board is
But I'm
feel free
also a
to.
taxpayer, and it's, like my letter said, I'm a property owner, and it's millage money that's being spent. So how is it a conflict? Lori just said it really wasn't. And you're the one who determines the budget. And then the board approves the budget. So is it basically, ulterior motive?
There is no ulterior motive.
Well, Lori just said there isn't a conflict. And once the money is here, you've got the taxpayer dollars in your bank account.
So here's what I want you to reflect on this.
Already.
One of our funders is on our meetings telling us about a meeting board member that is sitting on their board and is basically saying this is not a conflict of interest. Even in and of itself, that is a conflict of interest because one of our funders is sitting there talking to us about that. I am not suggesting to remove you or anything like that. I am just saying that there is a conflict of interest that she's already highlighted that you would have to not vote on funding.
On the NEMSCA board, but not here. And
This
I
is up to the
disagree. I
goal of the
think in
board.
my resume, I did say that I was on the NIPSCO board, so I didn't hide anything.
No one is saying that you
When
hid
you
it.
started the conversation, that it came to light afterward. It was on my resume.
Okay,
Well, I don't know. I guess I get the feeling that it's just a way to remove me from some quote, high priority committees because I asked too many questions.
that is not it
And
at
I
all.
will double check with Cindy Scott and Dave Cook. Personally.
Now, what is the problem with the finance committee with Kathleen and I and Stan or whoever, three of us sitting on that finance committee and her discussing the finances right along with the other, what is wrong with that? And then bring that information back to the board and let the board vote on whatever we talk about.
Because at those, like those three, you guys set the agenda for what the board hears. So if something that is not, that may be a conflict or may have a biased view could be voted down because it affected a herd of something came from upstream. So that is where I'm saying the conflict is. So I don't have a specific example. I'm just basically saying, if she was in a meeting privy at the top of the stream, and now she's in the meeting here, she could then table, vote against, or terminate things from meeting this board because she sits in that subcommittee.
But there'd be 2 votes against it.
But that's not a guarantee.
Well, that's why
Everybody
you
has
have
the
3
ability-
people on a board, so you have 2 to 1.
I mean, I'm not interested in trying to argue a lobby. I'm just stating that, yes, I do believe that there's a conflict of interest. That's all I have to say. If the board wishes to discuss it and then have
And
a
it is a
vote,
board decision.
Are there any other,
What, say Kathy wasn't on the NIMSCA board
Mhm.
and all this other stuff come up, money from NIMSCA and other places. She's not on the NIMSCA board, now that I said that.
it wouldn't be any, it
There
would
would-
not,
yeah.
would not be any conflict.
I don't see where there'd be a conflict regardless of if she,
I don't either. I think I like the idea that somebody can look at these finances and read them and understand them and give us her opinion. Yes, it's a good idea, or no, it's not a good idea. Somebody that's familiar with that kind of work.
I don't disagree that it's good to have a person that's got a lot of experience in financial matters looking at this stuff. I think it's critically important. I understand Lenny's perspective that we have to, and I'm not saying there's a conflict either. I'm not an attorney, but what I'm saying is that we have to avoid any appearance of impropriety. I don't know where I stand on this issue, frankly. I'm still kind of mulling it over in my head. I see both sides, but we have to be careful, I think, as a board, especially because we are a public board, we have to be very careful not to have any appearance of conflict of interest. And so we need to discuss that. We need to figure out a way to make it work so that we're above, impropriety. If other government entities operated, above impropriety and the appearance of impropriety, we'd be a much better place. And so I think locally we need to make sure, because we all know each other. I mean, we've all interacted, in the community, and we need to, and we need to get along, but yet not be afraid to debate. Because if we all just get along, then we're nothing but a rubber stamp.
Right. And dissension is okay.
Dissension is
It's great.
fine. That's
It
what
makes democracy.
drives democracy, right?
Exactly.
And, but we need to do it, I think, in a measured way, and in a polite and professional way. And I'm not saying that really hasn't happened, but I'm just saying, kind of setting the guideline rules is we need to be professionals. We need to treat one another with dignity and respect, even when we disagree. That's critically important in my, that's the way I feel when sitting on boards. I can vehemently disagree with somebody without being a jerk, without being disagreeable about it. So that's kind of what I would like to see. I think this is something, and I appreciate you bringing this to the board on your own. I really do. And I think it's something that it needs to be resolved and discussed. And that's
Okay,
all I
then.
wish to say. Go ahead, Chris.
If we're gonna talk about conflict of interest, I have another,
Well, I think we should probably wrap the first
no,
part
this
of
is
this.
also conflict too, I believe.
No, but we haven't even like come to any kind of like consensus on where we are with this one.
Well, I asked to make a presentation, so there is not really a time for a motion.
I don't think we were gonna make a motion.
Well, I think that's what he's leaning toward.
I'm not.
I'm not. Mike just said he was trying to take this into further consideration at this point, so.
Well, okay, now so I'll do this part. Since
Well,
we
if Dave Cook has checked this out, NIMSCA has checked it out, neither one of them has a problem
I
with,
didn't say that. Lori's here to speak. Dave Cook, we did speak. And I'm not gonna speak for him, but he said that, yes, there could, he said, do defer to your bylaws if, in fact, the board has to make a decision.
well, if the board has to make a decision, we almost have to have a motion, don't we?
I think
I'm
that
only making
possibly,
a presentation.
So we're not gonna, no.
Right.
We
okay,
can't during the presentation.
Okay.
Okay, we're talking about a conflict. I spent a considerable amount of
Can I
time.
have one of them?
Oh, I didn't. Sorry. Yes. I spent a considerable amount of time going through the minutes from 2020. Lenny was hired January 1 of 2020. According to the July 28, 2021 20 minutes, the new building design and programming was presented by Brad Butcher Sidak Group. Was there a contract? There was no motion in the minutes authorizing the hiring of this group or a dollar amount was approved, nor was a dollar amount, was there a vote taken by this board for this expenditure of these funds. August 25, 2020 minutes, Brad Butcher gave a mock-up plans for a new community center. October 27, 2020 minutes, Alcona Health Center property purchase 7 acres for 30 grand, 3,000 down. The contract states within 120 days of acceptance of offer, then satisfactory soil boring for full topographical and phase 1 environmental. Minutes contain a motion for 13,000 for surveys and $3,500 down payment. Was offer accepted before the environmental site assessments? Okay, further financials from October 2, 2020 to March 31, 2021. A line item for service contract, new building project, $42,092.02 was paid. Who received these payments? Are any of these firms listed below? What I could find in the financials, the Sidak Group received $38,000 to date. Sagasser and Associate received $1838. I couldn't find anything about geotechnical, soil and full topographic, but I have a feeling it was probably Sidak that did it. Molnar received 5, Ethos received, and 5, but the total is 15 to 25. There is also on the financials, Preen and Newhoff. Are they involved in this project? Was there a contract? What service received? They were paid $75.50 between October 20 and October 2021. There are no motions in the minutes where this board approved expenditures. Now, if we're talking about a conflict, who found these individuals? Who made the contact without board approval? Is there? Why? This board has to approve expenditures of this amount. I mean, you're talking probably, for all I know, close to $100,000. And now we get this plan that apparently you're moving. So what about the expenditures for all these soil borings and all these other things that we already paid for? And why did they do those things when was a contract with the health center ever executed? There is absolutely no understanding of what's happening. And the millage language states it's for programs and services and to maintain the Alcona Senior Center. So there's about $100,000 spent. Where did it come from? Without prior approval by this board, you have to approve major expenditures. And the contracts that we received, none of them were signed by the president, and the bylaw states the president's supposed to sign these contracts.
That's not true either.
That's not
It's
true.
in the
The
bylaws.
board authorizes,
You have to change your
I've read the
bylaws.
bylaws, Kathleen.
I-
You're misinterpreting them.
No, I'm not.
Well, this is one example that I think is very important, that Kathleen is on this board and on our finance stuff,
But here's the thing,
to check with, you know,
all of this.
double check stuff.
All of this, you guys did vote. However, the minutes were prepared by someone who it's not going to be, didn't have as detailed. As you can see, Kathleen, in the last 3 months that she's been here, I said, this needs to be added to the minutes. So it was prepared, not by the board, prepared by a staff member, these minutes. So all the details may not be in there, but everything that we discussed was discussed, and there are video backups of all the meetings that we talked about. The board has been informed. Ms. Fortunis may not be informed because she's new to the board. She's only been here, if you want to total it up, 12 hours. She's been here 12 hours. She's been a part of our agency for 12 total hours. That's enough for 4 meetings.
But I found out a lot of things in the most 12 hours.
And no one's trying to hide anything, Ms. Fortunis. We just want you to understand where the
I
board
do
is going.
understand. I understand that you can say what you want about the minutes, but your minutes are a record of what this board does, and expenditures are very important to be noted in the records. Not a video, because once your minutes are approved, you have to get rid of all the electronics. There are no motions in your minutes approving these amounts. And on page 4 of the bylaws, the president shall preside and execute all documents on behalf of the board.
I guess I'm surprised that this wasn't an audit finding from Stevenson and Graysick.
Right.
Because that's not what they look at.
They look
I
at,
asked. No, they don't read the bylaws.
That's not true, because she asked me for a copy of the bylaws when we first came here, and we had to
But
put the
she's-
bylaws on
But
file
the
with it.
bylaws are how this board operates, not how an auditor reviews them. That's why they're supposed to be kept current.
But she came under the first initial for fraud investigation. So yes, she did. She reviewed our bylaws. That was the whole point of all of this. I mean, like,
And I did check the financials that she provided, and there is nothing listed about these identification of how much money has been spent in these these phase 1 and phase 2, or project 1 and project 2.
because if we had a building and ground committee, that would be, we've been bringing everything to the board, full board. You would sit, if you want to be a part of the building project, sit on the building and grounds committee.
Well, you've had the building and grounds, and they haven't brought anything according to the
Because
minutes
we
to
don't,
this
we
board.
didn't have a, we don't have a.
We
committee.
don't have a committee. We're
You
waiting.
don't
We
have
were
it on
waiting.
your bylaws.
We have the committee there. It's not staffed. It's not manned.
Well, I mean, that's the president's
I know
job.
that's my job. I was waiting
And
because
what's it
we had,
been
some- I have the
About
floor right
last
now.
year.
I was waiting until we had a full board to assign people so that people aren't overtaxed with sitting on 4 and 5 committees, or 3 or 4 committees, or what have you. That's what we're waiting. We're appointing 2 people today. We will be, once again, as far as I know, fully staffed as a board. Then I'll make appointments to, and I made some appointments because we had, like the bylaws committee, we wanted that to get going. The finance committee, and the personnel committee, we wanted that to get going. Those are staff. The rest right now, people have left the board, people have kind of not wanted to have as many responsibilities. So that will be taken care of. I was in those meetings. I can tell you that the discussion was made about these expenditures and that the board approved them. As far as
They have
me
to be in your
executing,
minutes.
as far as me execute, I don't write the minutes. As far as me,
Approve
as far as me executing all the documents of the agency, number one, we know that's not true because I'd have to sign every check. I would have to sign every little contract that we do. This board gives the authority to the executive director to sign the documents on behalf of the board. Otherwise, why have an executive director?
To do the services for the seniors, that's what he was hired for. His job description does not state, to my knowledge, that he is signing any documents for this board. These contracts, I mean, you're talking about $25 million that you're going to, and how did he pick out these companies without board approval? You have to have all
Ask him.
those things in your minutes.
Ask him.
Well, we're talking about the appearance of a conflict, aren't we?
I don't see where there's a conflict with him. Do you have any proof that he has any kind of financial?
No, but nobody knows where these people came
Okay.
from, these companies. You as a board, this board did not approve any of these companies according to your minutes. So then I guess everyone needs to think about it. But I will check with Cindy Scott and I will check with Dave Cook.
I would suggest we have Cindy and Dave just present at a meeting.
That would
And
be a
maybe
good
start
idea.
with the subcommittee meeting first, where they're both there and they have the conversation with whatever subcommittee we delegate that task to. And then they come, that Cindy and Dave both attend the next meeting to present to the entire board
I think that's not a bad idea, Dan.
on both the conflict as well as any concerns that Kathleen has on the contracts that have been presented and where the minutes were in the past that do or do not show, some of these contracts being approved. That way it's just here.
Well, the open meeting exact rules, and it says that your minutes are your rules, your record of what transpired, and you've already spent probably close to $100,000.
Should someone get a hold of these two people and see if they will
Well-
come to a board meeting
We'll get with Cindy and
or a special meeting? Could we have a,
it
do
would
we have
probably
to
just
wait
need,
for a
it would
board?
just, it would need to be a subcommittee.
Yeah.
So
No,
probably
to the
the two board,
public, though.
probably two board chairs, so you, Kathleen, and Cindy and Dave.
And what did you
then-
say, Kathleen? I'm sorry.
It should be an open meeting, not a secret meeting. I have no objection to bringing this out to the public.
Okay.
All right. Is there any other discussion on this issue? Okay, thank you, Kathleen. Let's go on to reports, financial reports. Tony,
All right, I'm gonna do the financial report,
okay.
because Tony's on the pre-bidders meeting. Let me,
Someone come up with that.
Okay, so on the financial report, so a couple of things I wanted to kind of highlight in the financial report. You guys should have had the opportunity to review the documents and reserve to ask for questions. I will do my best to answer these questions on behalf of Tony. Tony does a lot better job than I do. What I want to highlight and what she asked me to highlight are the percentages in each of the categories. Let me find the exact page. So as I'm looking here, but basically in the financials, she wanted me to highlight that according to budget, we're below in certain areas and above in other areas. The reason for that, as you all know, we are going through a global pandemic. We're going to be readjusting the budget and presented this to the board because of these numbers. They're a little bit skewed. According to our contract with NEMSCO, we're supposed to be within 90% of the allocations of the monies that they give us at the end of the fiscal year ending 9/30. So we are striving to hit those benchmarks. We cannot invent the clients. The clients have to want the services. We've had high requests in respite care, which we only allocated a few $1,000s. And that's for the entire of the year. But we spend almost $4,000 and $5,000 almost a month in respite care because that's the number one care. We also seen a huge increase in our home delivered meals due to the fact that our congregate meals are open for a while and they're closed with people doing curbside, so some people decided if we can't come in, they would like to just get their meals delivered. NEMSCO was very gracious to help us have these people be considered sheltered in place because at first, those individuals could not receive home delivered meals because they were not considered homebound individuals. So the flexibility in NEMSCO and ASA allowed us to continue to serve these individuals. I don't see where Tony wanted to highlight the actual pages, so I will then say, if you have any specific questions on the financials, let me know. What is your question?
I have one on page 7.
Okay. It's not
It says millage, executive director and administration.
Mhm.
You budgeted 300, but you haven't used any of that?
It depends on what it is that it falls into the category of it. So like office supplies has its own category. You know, if there's staff things, staff appreciation, marketing, you know, those kinds of different things. There are tons of different categories in the admin 04 category. So there may be some items in there that may not have used yet because we haven't had a need for it.
Okay.
And who is Spring and Newhoff?
Brandon Newhoff is the people that actually did the topographical, I believe, study. Is either the geotechnical or the topographical. They were the ones that did the site study.
So that was 7550 for the site that the Alcona Health Center owns. So if you
I
move
don't
this-
have the exact numbers because they're not in front of me, but the conditions of the board was that those studies be approved first before there would be a purchase offer given to them.
So that just happened in March.
No, that did
Well,
not.
that's just on your March financial. For 1 month ended March 31. So you paid this probably about the 5th, and when did you move to a new site? So now you're gonna have to have new topographicals?
Hang on one second.
So that's $9,500.
Yes.
I don't think anybody approved a new site yet. I think that's.
Yeah.
No, I'm just raising a question. We've already spent all
Well,
this
we
money.
haven't
Why
got to
should
that
we-
point yet in the
Oh, that's a fair
discussion,
question.
Yeah,
but would you
I
want
mean,
me
This
to?
is taxpayer money.
Well, I mean, here, the Brennan Newhoff was not done recently, okay? So,
They're not done?
it's Kathleen. The only way this works is for you not to be confrontational with me, okay? I'm trying to give you the information that you want, okay? So please give me an opportunity to explain so you can understand where we're going. Number one, we did a topographical, a geological, and a soil boring survey of the property as conditional before we would make an offer to the Alcona Health Center. Also, we were talking in conjunction with the school of acquiring some property off of, what's the name of that road? I can't remember the name of that road. The extension of that road next to the school, Carbide Drive. Okay, so those two potential things had to be a part of what we were negotiating. This board moved and approved so that we could get those things done. Okay, so yes, we do have those individual reports. There are over 200 and some odd pages of all the information there. So that answers your first question. What was your second question?
So when did you pay for the soil boring? Or is that free to Newhoff too?
That was all done in 2020.
What? You just paid for it in March?
We did not just pay for it in March.
But that's what page 7 of the financials.
Where are you showing? I don't see where you're referring to
Page
page
7.
7.
On page 7, yeah.
Yeah, page 7.
Okay,
Right
this
there in the
is,
middle.
okay, because you're looking at this as it says 6 months in.
No, it
So,
says 1 month in.
no, it's, okay, look at the top of the category. This is why it's important. It says 6 months in. So that means 6 months ago, we spent that account. So it's giving you a report from 6 months to now, which is March 31st. So go back 6 months, that's what it's showing in that category. Then it has 1 month in on your first category, and then your second category is 6 months in. So do you understand now?
No, at the top of page 7, it says for 1 month ending March 31.
And then there is no, in 1 March ending, and the first column, March 31st, go all the way down, there is a $0 in that category. Then go back up to the top where it says 6 months in, March 31st, 2021,
That's
go
not
all the
on
way
this
down,
page.
it says 75550. That's the second column.
That doesn't say that on this page.
Well, I don't know what page you're looking at, but this is my page that I'm referring to.
I'm looking at the wrong one myself.
So you may be looking at a, you know,
looking at
this is
page
page
seven, you're
three.
looking at page
This is
two.
page 3 of the
There's
financial.
multiple page 7s in there, I have just discovered.
So this is page 3, because there's several reports that are printed out. We could probably do a better job explaining it.
That's on page 2.
But on page 3 that we're looking at. Everyone see that on page 3? First column at the bottom. About 5 up. It says 0 month in, March 31st. Second column, 6 months in, 75550 or 7550. Hang on, the person is looking for an invite, so I need to get them an invite to this meeting, please. All right. I think it would be beneficial if you would not view me as hiding something
No, I'm
and
just
view
asking
me
a
as
question.
working with the board. I think that would be the first place that we should probably operate from. And I just believe that as being a new member to the board, understanding the direction of where the board has decided to go would be beneficial. And I also believe in having a subcommittee, a lot of these questions will be answered, and then we could get a lot more stuff done. Okay, subject. Okay. Did I answer your financial question?
For now.
But I want to alliterate, you immediately thought that there was something,
No, I was just wondering why it's not disclosed to the board. I mean, you do have a subcommittee and
what do you mean it's not disclosed? This is full disclosure. You're reviewing the financials.
yeah, I
So-
know, but
so
how
you-
come none of these people knew that's what, how much has been spent? Because it's not in your minutes.
Okay, it may not be, okay,
It has to be.
the minutes, okay. I will only answer the financial questions. Do you have anything particularly to the agenda? Because I don't want a 3-hour meeting. It was atrocious last week. We got to stay professional. Do you have any additional financial questions for the financial report?
No,
Anyone else?
I would like to know why a certain individual was paid, a staff member, paid on the 10th of March, on the 9th of March, and again on the 10th of March.
Okay, are you referring to the board approval for someone to do the embroidery for our,
No, it's a in-home service provider.
What page are you on?
what page are you on? I would have to look at that, so I don't know exactly.
It's on bank account reconciliation worksheet. I don't know that there's a page 2.
yeah, on the bottom.
Yeah, page 2 I got. And it's about, I don't know, 10 up, March the 9th and 10th.
Okay. I would have to get with Tony to find out what that was.
And then she was paid again on the 12th.
Lenny,
The direct
Lenny-
deposit is 12.
Lenny, this
Yes.
is the.
Go ahead.
Could that be the premium pay that we do? They would
Yeah.
have regular payroll, they would have a mileage check, and then they would have a third deposit for premium pay, $2.
There you go. So that would be the additional pay that comes from NIMSCA that we pay out. That could be, I don't know. I would have to reserve to give that answer once I know concrete of what exactly, but that could be the direct care worker premium pay.
Well, it's $73, that one.
Yeah.
The state of
that goes-
Michigan. Okay, go ahead.
So what happens is every month at the beginning of the month, like what I'm doing currently, is I enter all the hours that the direct care workers are with clients and I submit that separately. So the hours are calculated and then paid out at $2 an hour.
You broke up a lot there, Leanne. Can you
Sorry.
repeat?
Yeah, so what I said was every month at the beginning of the month, like what I'm doing today, is I'm entering all the hours on a spreadsheet that my direct care workers work. And the spreadsheet tallies the amount of hours that they worked. We send it to the finance folks and they then cut a check for $2 per hour for each of the DCWs.
Okay, so that's basically what it does. So they cut out, they basically have the reimbursement. NEMSCA gets the reimbursement from the state. They send it to us and we get reimbursed for that premium pay, which will end on 9/30. So as long as the direct care workers are working in those units, they'll receive the premium pay. So that is what you're receiving as a secondary
So
check.
that's the COVID money, basically.
So basically, that's the reason why Stevenson's increase. Every month you ask me why there's an increase, because now there's an extra payroll that they have to run. Does that answer your question?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think. Yeah, it answers it, whether I understand it or not.
Any other questions for Lenny on that part of the financials?
Okay. So our person Sheila is here. Would you want to circle back up or you want to knock out these reports and then come back to her?
What does the board want to do? Have Sheila from Edward Jones give her report now since she's here? Or,
Mine just as well, I guess.
okay,
Okay. Sheila, I will ask that you unmute yourself.
Thank you. So I am here for two main things. The first one is I am happy to report on combined performance. Since you guys have trusted me to take over some assets under care for 2020, the account experienced an overall 11.92% growth rate, which is outstanding because that was during our COVID year. And then this year, year to date, we are at 5.25% growth rate. These are really astronomical growth rates. They are far exceeding any CD or bond fund that we could have ever selected. So it's been a wonderful experience so far. Your year mark for an actual annual review percentage will come May 22nd. May 21st, 2020 was when we deposited. So I'll be back sometime after May to give you the full annualized reporting, but that it's gone great. I'm very pleased. And I think that you guys are too. The other thing I'm here for is that I am aware that you have received additional funds, and since it is all in the bank and the FDIC insurance coverage only goes up to $250,000, I would like the board to make a motion to move anything that is in excess of that $250,000 into Edward Jones for care, since we can go up to 2.5 million, just to make sure that your funds are safe and covered. And so that is what I would, as your financial advisor for the unit, what I would recommend, just to keep things more safe. So.
Yep, she's still there.
okay. Anything else, Sheila?
Nope, that's it. Unless somebody has questions.
Any questions for Sheila on the investment accounts? Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sheila. I'll get back to you with the board's decision.
Would you like me to sign off now?
It's up to you. You can stay. It's an open meeting. So you
Okay.
can stay or go.
Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
So to reiterate, basically, that we have our assigned millage money, we'll be given all of it. So it's now sitting in the account. It's not drawing anything in interest. But if we just put it into what's called a money account or just a financial account through Edward Jones, it will grow more than what a brick and mortar percentage would get. We're not saying that we have to invest any of it. It just can just hold there.
So it's like a money market. type.
It's exactly like a money market that we can freely move money at any time, and there is no fee to move the money. It will just sit there in there, drawing more interest than keeping it inside of a brick and mortar. I'm not suggesting that we should take all of it, but I do believe that we should move. She said within the excess of, anything over $250,000, there is a considerable amount in there over $250,000. I would suggest somewhere between the neighborhood of $350,000 to $500,000 be moved into that money account. So that will be, that's it there. I do believe, just like the other ones, there would still have to be 4 owners, or just like we had to do with the other account. So then she would get with the committee as we did before, and then you guys would have to do that paperwork.
I have a question, and I'm not even sure. If let's say we put 100,000 in Edward Jones, and it's making 20,000. This 100,000 we put in there is millage money and NEMSCA money?
No, it is not NIMSCA money.
So it's millage money.
It is millage.
So the interest that we're making off that is millage money.
Yes, it's from our general fund.
It's generated from millage.
Generally for
Right.
Interest is
but
not
it's
millage.
not, it's millage.
Oh, the
That's-
interest is not millage money, it's
No, because that's earning interest.
ACCOA money, the
No,
interest?
okay, everything goes to our general fund. So donations that we receive from the public, grants that are not, what's the terminology? That are not line item acquired. Like say, for example, if someone said, I'm gonna give you $5,000 only to use in your food program.
Right.
That is what's called restricted funds. So any unrestricted funds, that's the term I'm looking for, any unrestricted funds go into our general fund. Okay, so we have all of our millage money that was given to us for the calendar fiscal year that was given it to us back in March. And that has now been put into our bank, okay, to allocate and to use. Then we also have ASA funding, which is the NIMSCA funding. That's completely separated. Those are restricted dollars. That means if they give us $10,000 for home delivered meals, we can only use $10,000 for home delivered meals. We can't use $10,000 in one. We can't spend $9,000 in one. We're supposed to spend $10,000 for home delivered meals, okay? And that does not become part of our general fund. So that's why you have all of these different program codes that show you all of that, what's in there. So never, ever, ever. And then we never get the full amount from NIMSCA. So NIMSCA never gives us our entire allotment of funds for the whole year. They give it to us monthly. So we give them our expenses for the month, they give us the reimbursement. We give them their expenses for the month, they give us the reimbursement. That's the way that works. Because they want to ensure that we have funds, because they don't want us to spend all our money in one month and not have funds at the end of the year. So that's why they give us a monthly exchange. Okay, so does that explain?
Well, that interest though, we can use that interest money wherever we need it,
Wherever we need it, because that is unrestricted.
and it's not millage.
It's part of the general fund. It is not just solely millage. It is unrestricted fund, unrestricted funds. That's what our auditor explained it as. You have this amount of money in unrestricted funds.
Okay.
That's just like, you have a savings account in the bank. The money that you put in there, it's taxable before it goes in there. But the interest that you make off that money in the bank is taxable. Because it runs on about the same.
Okay. I'm waiting for our board president to return.
Was Bill Thompson notified that we were meeting today?
I do believe so. And he's in on the meeting link. There is a commissioners, I don't know if there's a commissioners meeting, but he may have a conflict. Today was supposed to be last month, so we're gonna have to come around and have another meeting in a few weeks here.
Right.
My throat was getting a little bit scratchy and dry.
So if you would like to entertain a motion, I would say if you word it as, have somebody, I would say, not to say a specific amount, because I still need to do the budget numbers, as I previously stated, from the financial report earlier, because we're up in certain categories and over in others, or we're down in certain categories and over in others. I would say between $350,000 to $500,000 would be in that range. So you can say, if you want to make a motion, word it as up to this amount, or instead of giving a solid hard amount. Because if we put, I mean, we can move the money however we wish to say it, or however we want, but there's no penalty for moving cash from A to B. Everyone understand that? So there's no penalty for moving it from Edward Jones back into the bank. So,
So you need money moved? Is that what you're saying?
yes, because we have a lot of money in one account.
That's not in Edward Jones.
That is not currently in Edward Jones, no.
So do we wait for the next meeting, since it's gonna be a quick 2-week turnaround, for like a firm recommendation to alleviate some, maybe Kathleen's concerns about having like
If
a
you want,
specific dollar amount in a motion? I mean, would that make sense? That way you can look at the budget. and
Then that's
propose
fine.
that
I can,
recommended budget
we can do that.
proposal, than to say,
Yep.
this is the amount we have, so that there aren't concerns later on about, specific dollar amounts in the minutes. That seems to be the go slow to go fast approach to me, that way.
That's fine. I
2
can,
weeks of interest is gonna be, it's not gonna be the end of the world.
well, yeah, well, it's not getting any interest, but yeah, I can get a specific information.
It's not gonna make or break us.
But I'm just thinking, like then we could all have a hard number in front of us.
Yeah.
The revised budget potentially as well, and then that'll kind of give us a good perspective.
Right, because I have to get the pre-bidders conference information from them to determine what other programs that we're going to be asking money for. So yes, I could give the board a chance, we could table this and come back.
Especially if we're gonna meet in 2 or 3 weeks.
Yep.
or whatever.
Yeah, I think that's probably a wise idea.
Perfect.
Okay, so we need a motion to table.
I'll make a motion, we table the finance situation, or whatever you call it.
Yeah, proposed investments.
Yeah,
Probably
proposed
be the-
investments. Okay, so it's been properly moved and seconded. Are there any discussions, any further discussion?
Who seconded?
Roland,
Roland. Okay, thank you.
Yep, Dolores made the motion, Roland seconded.
Yeah.
All right, hearing and seeing no further discussion, all in favor of tabling, aye.
I,
All opposed, nay. Motion carried. Okay,
So it's no Bill Thompson, so it'll be Dan.
yeah, so Bill Thompson is not here to give a commissioner's report, so Dan O'Connor, our illustrious
Yeah,
superintendent.
we're trying to get through the next 28 days unscathed for the most part, I think, at this point, just trying to maintain face-to-face instruction and really finish the year strong, is really the goal right now, while simultaneously trying to hire a dozen new people and plan for whatever lies ahead of us next school year at this point. So we do have a summer school planned in August, a little bit of a jump start is what we're calling it. So we're going to have a 3-week jump start summer school, try to help the students. Everybody seems ready for a break. It's from families to students to staff at this point. But so we'll have a summer school plan in August. Get major challenges for those that were on the agency breakfast the other morning with finding staffing for next year in all areas.
Yep.
Whether it be a bus driver or paraprofessional or secretary, and then major challenges ahead with teachers, in terms of finding those people, for the right roles. We're going to lose almost 200 years of experience, this summer to retirements in different areas. So there's one staff member that taught there longer than I've been alive. So, so that's you can't replace that type of capacity and knowledge, as we work forward. So major challenges there as we try to move forward, but, opportunities too, finding some new energy and things like that. But a lot going on. We have This summer, we have a fiber line project that will be repairing the internet accessibility between the elementary and high school. So we have that project going. We're able to tap into like a federal grant to be able to handle that. We have a sinking fund project to replace the 1956 windows at the middle high school, long overdue to be replaced. So we have that project on the docket as well. So that in addition to all the other complexities that I mentioned, it's going to be
Yeah.
the fastest summer of all time. And I thought I would have said that for last summer. So,
Yeah.
at this point, I'm joking, but not about like locking the door on like June 16 for our staff and like, you guys need to go away and just clear your heads a little bit, because it's been just a really inconsistent year and a tough one for them. So
Are you gonna have graduation like you did last year?
hopefully it'll be a little more normal than last year on the football field, but maybe we'll be able to have more people. The guidelines continue to seem to be opening up a little bit. We had National Honor Society a few nights ago, last week, that went well. We're gonna have senior awards night next week in person, families there and 4 or 5 tickets a person. So seem to be nudging our way back towards where we want to be and hopeful that there's no cap to graduation. I think that's the plan right now if we're able to do it outside. We have to do the auditorium. We're gonna, we'll have to implement tickets because we're only able to have 300, about 50% capacity there. So.
Well, I just, on a personal level, Dan, I want to thank you for navigating through these really rough times. I think our school has come out relatively unscathed, compared to what I'm seeing in the news from other districts. And from a perspective of what I do for my full-time living, with the drug and alcohol use, I think that obviously it's an issue, and I appreciate the fact that the school district has always been open to educational programs to help with that. So while you can't please everybody, we know that no matter what you do, you're going to get in trouble from somebody. But I think you've done a yeoman's job as far as guiding this school through some pretty tough times. So thank you on behalf of my family and me personally.
I appreciate that, Mike. And it goes down to the whole staff and people comment, oh, it's got to be hard to do this. And it's every person's job has changed this year, whether it be a bus driver who's now like responsible for mass policing and sanitizing when they get on the bus to, whatever role. So just appreciate the work from everybody.
Yeah, absolutely.
Alex Cole is on cloud 9.
Yes, he
To be
is.
teaching coaching the
coaching, yeah.
varsity.
And what a choice. I mean, it lives on the family legacy of
Yeah, that
sports
was
in Alcona
The
County.
easiest decision we got to make all year was to appoint Alex as varsity basketball head coach. So
Alex will do well.
He stopped in the other night when I was out in the yard. And, you're not gonna believe it. He said, I'm varsity coach.
Yeah, he was definitely, I saw him the other
Oh,
day.
he's so happy.
He's still floating around. All right,
He gets to do David another few years.
yeah. Okay, so thank you, Dan. NEMSCA, I didn't see Vicky. Is Lori going to give the NEMSCA report or?
I guess, Lori.
Lori?
Yeah, Vicky is actually handling our pre-bidders conference, which is today for our one-year grants that will be awarded once we receive our funding notices from the state. We don't know what those funding levels will be, so typically we just provide the numbers from the current year, assuming it will be at least that much, but that's always a fluid number depending on where, the awards come in for us. So just a couple things that I wanted to mention. Somebody earlier mentioned the direct care worker premium. And we did receive notice that is continuing through the end of the fiscal year. Lenny mentioned it, I believe. That rate is up for April through the end of the fiscal year to $2.25 an hour rather than the $2 an hour. So that's good. We're hoping that it will actually become a permanent increase to these folks. We know that our community partners that do the hands-on work in the home struggle greatly to find workers to do that. So the increases in pay, actually, we hope that will, make a difference in their recruitment efforts. The other thing I wanted to mention kind of along with that is next week is Senior Action Week throughout Michigan. We're hoping that all of our communities will take part in that. We'll have some notices up on our Facebook page that we'll be sharing with all of the COAs, hoping that they will do the same. Senior Action Week is really intended to get constituents throughout the state to contact their legislators about issues that are important to older adults. And we have a whole platform that we're looking to address on each different day with them. So we hope that you all and people in your community will also take some action during next week. You might remember that annually, we usually have an Older Michiganians Day event, and that is happening next week as well on Wednesday, May 12th from 10 to 11:30. There will be a live stream with some legislative speakers talking about some of our topics on the platform. So again, we hope that you will generate some activity in your county to help support older adults. If you've watched the news lately, you know that Michigan will be losing a congressional seat due to the census numbers. Where that's going to hit, I don't know, but Northern Michigan population tends to not see a lot of growth. The UP definitely lost quite a bit. The west side of the state has gained some population, but the east side, I don't think we've seen any really great population growth. So hopefully that's not going to impact us too greatly, but it just goes to show how important keeping in touch with your legislator really is, especially when they're making budgetary decisions. The other thing I wanted to mention that Lenny spoke to was the flexibility that ACCA had granted us during the pandemic for the home delivered meals program. I just want to make sure everyone understands that that flexibility does go away once the executive orders are lifted for the pandemic. So keep that in mind as you do your planning. And also I might suggest that in your agenda, you add an item for the Regional Advisory Council report from your members. I believe you have a couple people sitting on our group. And that's really the intent of their participation, is to bring those issues that we discussed back to their communities, back to their councils or commissions on aging, so that everybody is aware of some of the things that are going on. So whether you put information in your newsletters or you're doing different communications out to your communities, we typically have some pretty useful information that they know the issues that are being addressed at legislative levels and service related. So that is all I had, unless anybody has questions for me.
Lori?
Yeah.
This is Dan. If you happen to have any of those talking points for like legislative issues to talk with lawmakers, if you send those to Lenny and he can send them my way, we were having a lot of conversations about a variety of different things involving some of the stimulus funds and things like that. So I can kind of sneak it into a meeting if you give me a few key talking points.
Oh, absolutely. Yes, I plan on getting something out today. I appreciate that offer, Dan, and absolutely, we'll get something to you.
I'll take one of those too, Lenny.
Yep, I'll send it out to the board.
Or actually, Lori, are you going to send it out to the advisory council as well?
It will be going out to advisory council as well, yes.
Okay, so I'll get it there. All right, perfect.
Great.
Any other
Thank you.
questions? Yep, any other questions for Lori? All right, thank you, Lori.
Thank you.
In-home services report, Leanne. Are you on, Leanne?
I'm here. Okay, so last month, I'm gonna give out a cheer. We had a better month, yay, 449 3/4 hours were spent in total last month. So 218.5 for the homemaking services, 113.25 for personal care. I think I got it transposed there. And then 22.5 or 113.25 for respite and 22.5 for personal care. And then we gave 95.5 hours to our DHS clients. We do have another new client. I'm doing an assessment tomorrow. So starting next week, we will have another new client. And everybody cross your fingers. I have interviews both today at 1 o'clock and tomorrow at 10 o'clock for possible new direct care workers. So.
Dan, in your report just a moment ago, you said 113.25 for respite and 22.5 for personal, but in our printed version, it's the opposite of that, which is correct.
Yeah, as I'm looking at it, I did transpose it because we don't have that many personal care clients.
Okay, so it's transposed in the written report.
It is. I apologize for
Okay.
that.
All right, I just wanted to be clear.
I just continue to be amazed, I think, by the amount of hours considering COVID and the challenges that come with that and where we were 2 years ago when Mike, I mean, it was like 40 to 60 hours a month of like, home care support. So I just, 500 hours of these variety of services. And it used to be like one category. It was like homemaking and
Yep.
that was about it. So it blows my mind, the amount of hours that was supporting seniors, locally compared to where we were.
We have a very good team.
Yeah.
I'm proud of it.
Yeah, we're real happy with our team here. Okay, any other questions for Leanne? All right, food services, Miss Julie.
Yeah, she's on.
Julie, look here.
You have to unmute yourself, Julie, if you're talking.
Can't tell you the number of times I forget to unmute. You think after a year and a half of doing Zoom meetings, I would.
She doesn't have a speaker, so she's on her way up.
Oh, okay.
There she
There she is.
Don't worry, that'll be rectified this week.
Yes, Mike is working diligently downstairs.
Diligently downstairs.
Oh, Julie.
Hello. I have no speaker or camera right now, so I have to come up here. All right. My yearly budget was 5,000 or 55,200. The amount spent so far this fiscal year is $22,807.66, with a remainder of $32,392.34. My monthly budget is 4,600. Excuse me. And in March, I spent $5,157.16, which put me over by $557.16. Yes, I know, but I've done really good other months, so I had that balance. Part of the reason right now is the food bank has not had much meat.
Right.
So I've had to purchase meat from Gordon's, which has raised my cost.
And they've raised their cost.
And they've raised their cost because there's a lot of meat right now that's shortages and prices are going up.
Beef has gone crazy.
So, and chicken's going to be going crazy real soon.
Yep.
So I can see that happening again this month already. I'm already like, I only have a few $100s left in my budget for this month because I've done my Gordon's and my food bank orders already. So I know I'm going to go over with my milk and my bread that I have to order throughout the month yet. But in March, I did 1,428 hot meals, 708 frozens, 427 sacks, and 56 congregate meals. And those include both the inside and the drive-through that we've done.
When was our last inside? I mean, when did we shut down again?
We shut down last week.
Last week, okay.
And we're back inside again this week.
Okay.
So my total meals for March was 2,619. We put 780 meals in the freezer for our frozen meals. So for the fiscal year, we've done 8,021 hot meals, 4,549 frozens, and 2,582 sack lunches for a total meals we've sent of 15,152. And like last night, we had 16 congregate meals. 6 of them were to go, people that came in and picked up meals to take home, and the other 10 stayed and ate in the building.
Good.
So, and as it stands right now, I have 10 tonight with only 2 to go. So our numbers are starting to come back up for our congregate.
Good.
So,
Excellent.
any questions?
The ones to go, are they also hot? The same meal you're serving downstairs?
Right, it's the same meal,
Yeah.
but there might not always be hot because we dish them up so they can, and seal them. So they can take them home.
Mhm.
And I've just told them all how to, just pop them in the microwave for a couple minutes. And, they'll be good to go, so.
Any other questions for Julie?
On your frozen, you sent out 708 and you put in 780. So
Right.
do you do a few less the next week or the
No,
next
it
month?
just
So-
depends. We just try to keep as many going into the freezer as possible. So if we have some emergency, I know now it's not the time of year to have to worry, well, knock on wood, on snow days.
It is Michigan.
Yeah, that's what, knock on
I
wood.
heard that all the way.
Yeah, but we, something could happen where we have to close down for a day, whether it be a weather-related power outage, whatever.
Natural disaster.
Right, so I always try to keep as many in as I can, so they're always rotating through.
So they're not getting outdated though?
No, oh, no,
Okay.
they don't get outdated. We send them out, quick, and we're always putting some back in, so, it's kind of a just balancing out.
This county knows where the dinner bell is ringing.
Yeah,
Any other questions for Julie? All right, thank you, Julie.
Yep.
Appreciate your good work.
thank you.
Shauna, transportation, yeah.
Is it just the two of you having lunch? Anybody else having lunch?
All right, Shauna, transportation report. Are we doing food bank report?
Shauna's on her way up.
Shauna, are you coming up or you coming on the phone?
She's on her way up.
Okay,
Okay,
perfect. And yes, I think that is on there too.
okay.
Okay.
No, 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 I didn't see it on.
Yeah. I think I must see it.
Okay.
How is everyone?
Wonderful.
Got a little presentation for you. Not going to spend a whole lot on the report, but if you have any questions for me later, I'm more than happy to answer. Okay, little math problem. What is 1 + 3 equal?
Depends on if it's new math or old math.
Actually, it equals 130. As of yesterday, we have done 130 transportations.
Whoa. Yay.
That's awesome.
And demand is exceeding the supply. I have more demand than I have supply, which in some ways that's a good thing. Now, what does an EMT look like? Looks like this. But for this number here, it looks like this. This is how it all starts, from a phone call. I'm going to share a very quick, short story with you. What an EMT is for people. And I'm trying to do this and not write it down. I received a call from a woman a while back, distraught, in tears. Her primary caregiver had just passed away, and she had no means of transportation. She needed to go to a doctor appointment. That was very important. So my other drivers were out on the road. I said, there's no problem. I'll get you to where you need to go. I'll come and drive you. Got to the woman's house. She was frail, had a walker. Got her to her doctor appointment, middle of winter. And on the way back, she said, can I tell you something? I said, sure. She goes, because of you, I'm going to live to see another day. Didn't quite, understand where the appointment that I took her to was to see her cancer doctor. She got her results back. Her cancer was in remission.
Awesome.
Yay.
When I got her safely into her home, drove out of the driveway, got down the road, got out, and I just bawled. And you know what an EMT is? This could be me one day.
That's
I
right.
might need a ride one day. And I hope that we have just as awesome drivers as what my drivers are. We take pride in our services. And we want to make sure that we are not just representing Alcona County. We are representing everyone. Every day, my drivers do pre-checks. Now, here's my other kicker. Roland can testify because you've driven that vehicle. The Jeep, I did a transport to Brighton the other day. It was raining, we had construction. I call it a Rose Canardly. It rolls down one hill, can hardly roll up the next.
That's the-
That vehicle, and I'm just saying this, it is my job to make sure the services are done, vehicles are safe, drivers have the tools. That vehicle right now, I am not going to put on the road for long-term travel. It's okay for short distances, but long distances, no. There are things going wrong with it. We have put Band-Aids on it. We are doing everything we can to keep it going. But these are just a couple little random pictures I just pulled off.
Did you go
I didn't-
down there Friday, Monday?
Yes, I did.
I thought so.
I'm guessing this is tied into the new vehicle purchase recommendation that
Yes.
we're discussing.
Yes.
I didn't-
We're coming up
I'm
with.
sorry, I had an
Pulling
MMAT
back the
meeting this
curtain.
morning too, so I didn't have
What was
time
your first
to
clue,
get all the prices.
That we need to go over, there's no prices on this one.
I know.
so-
I was doing an MMAT
I
today
think it's in
too.
the book, isn't it?
Yeah, I believe we put a couple of options in the book for us to
Yeah.
kind of look at.
But like I said, safety is my first priority.
So it looks like you're doing about a trip a day for the month of March. which is going to Continue to pick up.
Last week, we were doing 3 trips a day. Every single vehicle has been out. And if I have to send the bus downstate for only one person,
We
so
do
be
it.
it. They're
We
gonna
do
be
it.
safe.
So I think the thing that's most interesting, and Ron can go after, sorry to interrupt you, Ron, that in the past, like we tried to use the Thunder Bay transportation out of Alpena and Alcona County, and it never gained traction because Alcona County is a really proud county, and they don't typically like to, that seems like too far off the radar for them to contact it regularly. So I think this is only gonna grow, and it's another new service that we didn't have, like we just
Right.
didn't have before. So
Part of the drawback with, and I did some research, Thunder Bay, Iosco, you call the service and you just need to go to a doctor appointment, you might only be there for 45 minutes. You're dropped off and you're left there.
Yeah.
You could be left there 2 to 4 hours, depending on what their route is.
Yep.
We're personalized. We get you to where you need to go. We stay with you. We don't just drop you off for 4 hours and say, okay, I'll go shopping and then I'll come back and get you. Now, we do have some wait times. We have a gentleman that we take 3 days a week for dialysis. But we are right there. Driver might go get lunch, but he's back on the property. So that's how we do business. And I get calls every day. I hear great things about you.
Mhm.
I need a ride.
How come Alpena can do it free of charge?
Because they have a millage.
Oh, they have a millage for
They have a
just,
They
transportation
have a
that?
millage.
Yeah, they have a transportation
Yeah.
authority. We do not.
because I know it's on the radio, they do it free of charge.
We don't have that. We do it as low as charge as we possibly can,
Yes.
but it's one of our fee for service programs. so.
And even with the gas, we have not had to raise our per mile as of yet.
Ron,
Ron?
did you have something?
There's been a couple times that I've driven the Jeep and the yellow truck. And the sticker up on the window doesn't coincide with that. And I made notes, and I know the truck isn't Shauna's responsibility. But
Comes with the
Whoever
sticker for the
drives
oil
The
change.
Yeah.
stickers never
the next
coincide.
well,
And there's a
Well,
reason for that, I'll tell you when you're done.
there's a date, and also 5,000 miles.
Right.
I go by 5,000 miles all the time. And so I think that it's the driver that's driving that vehicle that day should check that out and make a note to you. Due to the fact that mileage on the speedometer is way above what's the next.
Right.
The reason, partial reason for that on the newer vehicles especially, the oil gauge, the oil life gauge that tells you you're at 30% or whatever, that's based on the car's computer kind of looking at how your driving conditions, how fast you drive, and all of that sort of thing. So that's going to be a little bit different than, and the dealerships will all put either 3,000 or 5,000 as their recommended oil change. But it's best to, especially on the older vehicles or ones that get used a lot, like ours do, to make sure we're regular with those oil changes. Otherwise,
And we are, and we
Yeah.
have an actual pre-trip slip that we use. We check out the lights, we check everything out that it's running. We check the oil, so on and so forth. We just do the manual, checks, make sure there's fluid and things like that. And if they need to go in the shop, they go.
perfect, excellent, thank you. Any other questions for Shauna?
We're, excuse my ignorance on this, I guess. So in terms of like revenue versus, for the program so far, any idea where that is as a whole?
Did I give you? a
Almost
monthly
breaking
sheet?
even.
Yeah.
Like, right now, we're waiting. They haven't approved it yet, but I did a presentation to, Kona County VA, and they were going to do a contract with us solely to do transportation on behalf of their veterans. So that would influx a new group of people. And I am also reaching out to Logisticare and a couple of other big time Medicaid providers to get in there. And a few of the directors within the NIMSCA 9 or NIMSCA 12 counties just found out that we are willing to come to their area to work. So that will also pick up. So right now, we're just breaking even of what we kind of budgeted.
And I've been on the phone with the different commissions on aging as well. Sometimes they might have a vehicle to go pick somebody up for, congregate meals and things like that. But as far as actual transportation downstate to medical appointments, it's far and few between.
That's awesome that we helped 130 clients this month. So
Yeah.
thank you.
And
Yeah.
it's climbing.
Yep,
So
thank you, Shauna.
I appreciate
you're
it.
welcome.
All right,
If you ever want to
Let's
come
just
for
do
a ride,
Paul and then-
come
and
check us
Debbie,
out.
and
We'll
then
show
we'll-
you how we get you to where you want to go.
Okay.
Your words.
Okay, let's go to the Alcona County Day Center and Paul.
All right.
He's on his way up.
Just thought I would go up, so it'd be easier.
Okay.
So my name's Paul. I'm the Day Center Coordinator, and listened to Shauna talk. I thought I would give some examples of what's going on with the Day Center. Some of it's been difficult because of COVID and everything. I started out dropping off flyers at the health department, the clinic, and the other things, but didn't seem to be helping. So I wanted to see how else I could personalize the flyer. And one of the things that I did a couple weeks back was at the food pop-up. I handed out flyers personally and talked to a lot of people saying, hey, we have this service, and just handed out my flyer. Has a picture on it, has a time, what we provide, one pager, a picture says 1,000 words. And I believe that helps. One of the other things that, one of my suggestions, and they're starting to do it now too, is for in-home supports. They're including my flyer in their folders for any new people that are looking at in-home support, because
this is another option to provide service other than at the house. We can provide it here too for the same type of service. So before we shut down for a week or week and a half, whatever it was, we had our first client at the day center and also had another assessment completed for another individual that was interested. And since then, I've had a third inquiry. Haven't done an assessment on them yet, but I just want to personalize some of the people that are in need. So for the first person that came here, it's a lady that has dementia, but very cooperative, but her husband, it's really hard for him day in and day out. He needs a break. He gave me examples of what his day is. He's needs, lawn care or whatever. He has his spouse sitting in front of the window so he can watch what she's doing. He's afraid that she's going to wander off if he's outside and he turns his back on her for a bit. So it's really difficult. They are in fact coming back to the day center tomorrow. I talked to him this morning. He wanted to come back earlier, had been calling, when are you going to open? When are you going to open? So the first time that they came, he stayed too, just to make sure that his spouse was comfortable. And he was impressed. Second family, this individual, I still have to complete their assessment, but did a lot of it. Again, it's a gentleman taking care of his spouse, but in addition, he also has a grandchild that he's taking care of. So that's part of kinship care. So again, he's having a difficult time, but because not only his spouse, but also a grandchild that he's taking care of. So there's a need out there. And then a third family, it's an individual who doesn't have dementia, but she moved up to live with her family because it was getting harder and harder for her to take care of herself. So she's staying with the family, but both caregivers work full time. So she's stuck in the house all day long, 7 days a week, unless she has a doctor's appointment or maybe she'll go grocery shopping or something like that. So she's looking at something to get just social aspect out of it. So that's a third inquiry. And that all has happened in the past, I would say just before in April, basically. So there's definitely need going on. There's probably 4, maybe 5 other families that we've been reaching out to. I know Deb McKay has mentioned the day center when she's doing her well checks with families. Julie has mentioned occasionally when she's making her phone calls on her home delivery meals that these are things. And then also in Shauna's transportation folder, I've asked to have my flyer included in that too. So that would be a good thing, is if we all have 1-page flyers like Shauna's transportation flyer here, my flyer here, that we just have a folder of all the services, and I know that's been starting to get worked on. So that kind of personalizes and shows the need that's out there, and anything that you guys can do to get the word out to, I'd appreciate it. Any questions?
Paul, the family with child, how old is the child?
She's a teenager,
Teenager?
yes. So, I did have a question earlier in the week about the furniture. All the furniture in there had been donated except for 2 pieces that I recently purchased. And Kohl's gave us a great deal. And I want to have more recliners than not, because recliners allows them to lift the legs up, keep their circulation going. And it's just more comfortable for seniors that would spend time here at the day center. So one of the purchases that I did get, because we didn't have one from donations, was an electric recliner that would actually help them lift them up.
I was just going to ask about that.
And then the other recliner was a rocking recliner, because we didn't have one of those. But everything else has been donated. We recently recently picked up 2 matching blue recliners donated that are in really good shape. If you go down to the day center area, you'll see them. They look really nice. I think the day centers, we don't need any more furniture now. We're
Please, God,
pretty
no.
well set. But I just want to let people know that everything else has been donated except for those 2 pieces. The only purchases that I might want to start looking at, and that's when we start picking up, if we have 2 or 3 people every week, I would like to look into a few more activities for them to do, just so I make sure that we're keeping them busy. I don't want them just sitting in front of the television all day. And, an hour watching television, if they're here all day or whatnot, to relax, that's fine. But I want to have activities for them to do. One of the things that I'm going to do with the person that's coming tomorrow, we have a chair exercise class tomorrow at 10:45. She's going to be here before that. So when the chair exercise class comes in, I'm going to see how she does with that and see something safe. The instructor's really good. They do all the exercises on the chair. The last time that she was here, I got her on the exercise bike, and her husband was on the treadmill. They really enjoyed it. So having this part here too for not only social activity, but up here for physical activity, which the seniors need, is very important. So any questions?
Do you interact with this client, or is somebody hired to
No,
stay with her and
that-
have her color and have her play
That's-
cards and whatever?
I'm the day center coordinator. Yep.
And as he gets bigger, we'll have more staff.
Yeah. Now, that said, both Julie and Deb, who have had experience with direct care staff, has offered that if needed, if I had to take a break, for instance, they could step in for a few minutes. So we have other staff on board that can step in.
Is our insurance for ACCOA cover that person while she's here? Let's say she falls off this bike or whatever, our insurance pays her doctor visit, her emergency care, or whatever.
We have insurance that covers liability.
Okay.
Excellent. Any other questions for Paul?
It's a lot of work to get it off the ground. So
Yeah,
I appreciate
appreciate
it.
it, yeah.
Again, anything that you guys can do to get the word out to, if you want a flyer that you can hand out, if you know of somebody And that's one of the other family members. They heard about this program from one of the flyers that I handed out at the food pop-up. The person I handed it to wasn't interested, but they knew this family. So,
If you're,
Cool.
if you are, but
I'm sorry.
Somebody
Hi.
online was wanting,
Yeah, it's Kim Fleming. Are there flyers, supply of them available at the center to pick up in order to help?
I
Do
can
that.
print flyers. I can print flyers anytime that somebody would need some.
Okay,
all right,
I was just gonna say, I know some Pied Piper and Alpena deals with a lot of cognitively impaired
Yes.
students, that might be a.
And that's on my list of people to call. But when COVID hit and they were kind of shut down, I think it was Deb McKay that mentioned Pied Piper.
Yeah, let's connect after the meeting for.
Do you have,
His
do
superintendent at AMA lives in Oklahoma County, so it'll be a quick.
you have contact number for them? Okay, if you could give that to me, that'd be great. All right, thank you.
any other good? Thanks, Paul. And
Is
Paul,
ours just for seniors or is it for
No, it's for 18 and over.
20-year-old that has physical problems?
Yeah,
18 and over.
18 and over.
18 and over.
And that's why Pied Piper would be a good fit to
Yeah.
anybody
Okay.
from there.
and Paul, I want to personally thank you for your involvement in the pop-up pantries too. The extra hands are always appreciated.
All right, thank you. Thank you. All right, everyone have a nice day.
All right. And speaking of the pop-up pantry, that's one thing that on the reports we forgot to put in there was pop-up pantry. Debbie Reams, are you on?
I don't see her. Hey, Deb McKay, can you go and then send Deb Reeves up?
Yes, just a
Please.
moment.
Okay.
Okay, so Debbie McKay will give her kinship report in a moment.
In a moment.
Anybody need a stretch break yet?
I'm gonna be quick. I'm hoping to be quick. Just fire off what we got here.
We should have put his flyers in TFAB yesterday.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I thought of it.
See, we always
She's
forget
on
to
her
do
way.
stuff. Okay,
thank you.
so go ahead, Deb McKay, if you want to give your report, and then when Debbie gets here, we'll get her.
Okay, good morning, everyone. I'm in charge of the Kinship Program, and that is helping usually grandparents raising their grandchildren. It could be aunts and uncles raising nieces and nephews. We have 3 active families currently. A total of 6 children have received about $150 worth of clothing. We have another child. The grandparent is purchasing clothing and then will be reimbursed for $150 for that. And a great grandma that is raising 5 great grandchildren will be receiving 2 bunk beds, mattresses, sheets, and some other things. We have to finalize all that. Any questions about Kinship Program?
Can you tell them exactly what it is, Debbie, so they can have it a little bit, just kind of go into like a brief synopsis of what the Kinship Program is?
Sure, it's a NEMSCA program, and qualifying families can receive twice a year. They can receive a gift, such as $150 worth of clothing for children, or furniture, unpaid medical bills, things to do with school, tutoring, camps, music, things like that.
So this is again, how the young people and our older seniors are working in concert, because we're now seeing a lot more, especially with mental health and drug substance abuse, that older grandparents are taking care of their younger kids or their kids' kids because of that, or because of awarding of the court. So the Kinship Program has gotten a lot of legs in the last couple of years. We haven't had that here, but now we're starting it. So, I mean, we pretty much started like 7 new programs over the last year, as Cindy said. So Deb's been doing really good, and we're just kind of shaking the trees. We have to work with you. I know you guys have FERPA, so we really can't like come out there and shake the tree like we would like to, but we do have some flyers out there with the school success workers that people can get in contact with our agency to do that.
Where does this kinship money, where is that coming from? Is that our millage money?
No, that's NEMSCA.
We have a NIMSCA monies that, there's certain ways that there's, the way that the program says, okay, so that I'll explain how all the programs work. So let's say we're all eating at a restaurant, and NIMSCA, and our bill's $100. NIMSCA says, we'll pay 50 of that bucks. But there's still $50 left on the table. And let's say the person that we took out to dinner says, I can only chip in 10. Okay, so now there's $40 left on the table. Well, millage is the filler, is the catch, to catch it all, okay? That's the exact same way a program works. So millage will say, we're going to give you, the grant says, we'll pay for X, Y, and Z of this. The person, you can ask for a donation, but they don't have to pay. Millage is a catch above and beyond if there is need, okay? So that's how that works. This program in particularly, NIMSCA has it to where you can either apply for a one-year grant, or you can just see if there's funding available that they can reimburse you. So in this particular opportunity, we were able to get reimbursable funds from NIMSCA, and they have guidelines and programs that we go through. But if we had a rush of people that needed it, we could take money from our general funds if it was budgeted for this program. You understand?
She was saying that if the grandmother has medical bills for the child, then we can help pay for that.
Up
Where
to,
is that medical? Because if that grandmother is raising her grandkids, Social Security would pay for those grandkids.
up with, like, let's say, okay, there are like several different paragraph guidelines that are in there that they can get assistance with, like school supplies. And there's a cap up to $150, and they can only get that twice within a year. So 6 months, you get 150, another 6 months, you can get another 150, capped at that child for $300. You understand that?
So is that where that doctor bill is gonna get paid out of that?
If they submit it and that's approved and that's something that's a reimbursable, then yes. If it doesn't and it's denied, then no. We would say, no, we can't assist you with that. So, and it's like a copay, not like a bloody nose or something that's, but like I said, it has to go through a prior authorization. We submit it to NIMSCA, if, using funding, and say, okay, is this a reimbursable? They say, yes, it is. Then the person will pay the bill first, then we would reimburse them. You understand?
I think I do, but I'm still concerned if we're using senior millage money to pay for a child.
Okay. I know you guys are stuck on the senior millage money, but the money is allocated for seniors for all types of programs. Seniors need transportation, seniors need food.
Right.
This is a senior-based program because they're seniors taking care of their young kids with fixed incomes. So if I'm raising my 5 grandkids and I only get Social Security at $750, that is gone on one grocery bill from 5 little monsters that are eating. This program is supposed to help individuals. So then all the other programs like that family, we say, oh my goodness, we have a food box program. Come get a box every month. Hey, how are you with transportation? I have one vehicle. I can't get such and such to the doctor. We have a transportation program.
So the money is helping the senior because it's the senior, the grandmother, grandfather that are paying the bills for these grandkids that they're raising. So the money is going to.
Right.
Senior.
But Social Security pays that bill
Not for
No,
kids.
not for the
for
kids,
the kids, yes.
No.
Well, that's out of scope.
unless they're getting Social Security because the parents passed away or something like that.
But either way, they have to turn in their receipts. They have to have guidelines. They have to meet guidelines. And like I said, we submit this for authorization before we pay it. It's not that, we're not Oprah. We're not saying, I'm gonna pay your bill, I'm gonna pay your bill. We're not buying up bad debt or not doing anything. There are guidelines that have to fall through, that can go through that. If you want for the next meeting, I can present that and give you a PowerPoint on the guidelines if you want a more deeper dive into the kinship program. Would you like that for the next meeting?
I don't know that I need it. I just was
Curious.
thinking social security, you know, when my brother was paralyzed, social security paid so much money
Right.
every month for his 2 kids.
Because he was getting
Yeah.
social security disability.
Right.
These
That's
kids
different.
aren't necessarily disabled, their parents aren't necessarily deceased.
kind of
This is
depends on what the
grandparent.
parents
But
are.
his grandparents on social security raising these grandkids.
Depends though.
They don't get.
I mean, there's other programs like Debbie helps people
Medicaid.
get with Medicaid applications. They may get food stamps. There's other programs that help, but every situation is different and is not cookie cutter.
Right.
You know, we can
Right.
only help with what services that we're allowed to provide, and that's up to $300 in a fiscal year for one person. And then if we can't help them, Debbie's also our information referral person. She'll refer them to like St. Vincent's, you know, to Salvation Army or whatever services that they're looking.
Okay. Any other questions for Debbie number 1?
All
Can I be number 1?
right, thank you, Debbie.
Thank you, Debbie.
I have
Okay.
Lori wanted to say something, then I have another program.
Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Thank you. I just wanted to give a couple clarifying points on the kinship program. There's a limit of $300 per child twice a year. The $150 limit is for clothing only because we want to be able to have some funds for some of these other things. The whole purpose of the program is to give that older adult who is caring for these children some type of relief. So whether they need the beds, like Debbie said, if they're just taking in some grandkids, or they can't afford clothes for them, or they need a break and they need to, have some healthy activities for the child as a respite to the grandparent. That's the whole purpose. There is a 10% match requirement for all ASA-funded programs, and Lenny is right. Many of them are donation-based for program income, and nobody is denied participation in meals, for instance, if they can't afford to pay. But this is really geared towards family caregivers of relative children. Typically, they are grandparents. There is a review process for the application.
Debbie McKay, you had,
Yeah, she had one more.
okay, sorry.
I also do the telephone reassurance program, which is a program where seniors can sign up, and I call them once a week, sometimes 3 times a week, and then I have one lady that I call every day, Monday through Friday. We have a total of 43 people on the telephone reassurance program. I call also, to check in, make sure they're doing okay, but also as part of my information and assistance program to find out if they have any needs. I try to match those needs.
Great, thank you. That's an important program too. That's one thing I've heard in the community over and over again is that, the people calling, especially during this pandemic,
And check up on these.
check up on them. Yeah,
people.
I think it's
Okay.
needed and very well run. Thank you, Debbie. Okay, Debbie number 2, who wants to be number 1 in the pop-up pantry program.
First of all, I want to say thank you to everybody for helping out at the pantries and you getting food to when you get to. We're doing good. Mike tries to keep count of the cars.
It's tough sometimes. We were at about 150,
70, wasn't it?
150.
Was it?
Rough.
Okay, so we're between 150, 200 cars per month. But last month I had 2 pop-ups and the count was the same.
Yeah.
We had that many cars both times. And they're bringing us enough food for 400 families. So, and I share 75 boxes with Greenbush. They have at least 75 people coming to theirs.
And several cars will pick up for multiple families
Yeah,
because
yeah,
they don't
right.
have a car.
Right. Yep. And I have now a program out of here. I call it the homebound meals, which that's by appointment only. They call, or I call them and I set up an appointment for them to come and get a box of food. And last month I did 110 boxes.
Wow.
I believe I did it twice last month too, out of here.
So is that 110 twice or 110 total?
110 twice,
So 220.
220 boxes. Yeah.
Great.
So in the last 2 months, we've given out,
$8,000 roughly.
yeah,
Dollars.
about $8,000 worth of food. And that
We're
was
up.
with the grant that we got,
Right.
or Lenny got for us.
I think on the pop-up pantry, we're up since we started this program last year, a little over a year ago now. We're up over $1.5 million roughly in dollars.
Yeah.
Or in
Continuing,
value.
counting this month, we should probably be at like 1.75 roughly.
We have two this month.
No, just one this month.
Yeah, yeah.
I
We're-
think-
I
I
gotta
think
get
people are
with
trying-
Dan, I'll to find out if he's gonna be able to provide your food program during the summer. So we'll figure out if we need to step up
Yeah.
the amount.
As of now, we're gonna take off June, July, at least when the day school ends, and then pick it back up in August.
So there you go. So we'll start doing either bi-weekly in June and July. If the food bank of Northeastern Michigan has food, that's the
Right,
thing.
that's the big thing, because right now I have a pop-up scheduled for June, but she said we're going month by month right now because USDA is not getting the grants and stuff, so.
Right.
And then I did a March Against Hunger, and we raised over $600 with that, which the food bank will match 10% on that. And then we had a donation of $800 from a lady that just kind of drove in and said, here's a check.
For $800?
Yep.
Yeah.
They just walked in and said, hey, this is for the food bank.
Wow, that's
Nice.
She wanted to
nice.
make sure it stayed in this county. Which, and then we got Feeding America grant, they had that. And Melissa Burns actually put our name out there to get what was left over on that grant. And we got it, and that's $5,328,
That's great.
which went towards credit at the food bank where I shop online. So,
We write a lot of grants here.
yeah, a lot of grants.
You know when you're gonna have one in May yet?
May 12th
May 12th?
for the ARA site.
For the,
The-
yeah,
The
pop-up.
pop-up.
And then the one here will be the 18th, but we're gonna sort the food on the 17th.
May the 18th is here?
We're sorting the food and making up boxes on the 17th.
Yeah.
And I know Debbie would appreciate as many hands as
Oh, that
possible.
one's a hard one.
It was great having the 30 kids come.
Yes. it was
Over the
wonderful.
pop-up.
was awesome.
was,
Yeah.
really.
I heard nothing but good things about that.
Yep.
I didn't see
I heard a
those
lot of kids
boxes
were
move so
pumped.
fast. in my
No,
entire
those
time
kids
around
didn't
it.
screw around until
Yeah,
we finally, most of the cars were gone, then they kind of chilled out a little bit, but they unloaded from, I wasn't there in the morning for the unloading of the truck, but I was told by several people that they unloaded that truck quicker than we've
First
ever
field
seen.
trip of the year. They've been
Yeah.
stacking their all
It was
year
great.
long.
They did
So,
great.
Yeah.
They were
And
Very
they're,
kind of an assembly.
Very
We didn't even have
polite,
to use
too.
the carts
They-
that
they
day.
No,
Put
it
the
was-
stuff in the car and.
yep, and we're
and,
teaching them how to give back to the community.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
we're building
Yeah.
volunteers for the future. I
Yeah.
think that's fantastic.
Anytime you guys would do that again, that was fun. And,
Yeah, Jenny had a lot
and the news were like super pumped. to just
The news
report
was
story.
there, yeah.
Just report. the
Got a
story.
lot of coverage on that.
So it's
Yeah.
good.
So,
And I told them, be on your best behavior, WBKB's coming. Let's make Elkona proud.
Yeah,
that's right.
good. Thank you, Dave.
Thank you, Debbie.
Yeah.
Well, Debbie's here. And bring it up to the board. I talked to Lenny a couple times about getting a different jack on the tongue of that trailer.
Mhm.
And
One it'll
fold
fold
up
up
on
so
the-
that that thing's not hanging down.
Yeah.
Because there's
So
been
that
several times
handle
it's been
sticks
almost to the
up,
ground.
and put
So,
the Tailgate down and rests right on top of that handle. And if it slips out of my hand or
Yeah.
somebody else or someone's putting something in there and sets a box down on that tailgate, it's going to put a nice dent in it. And and sometime my backup camera might be right there. So I'd like to get that replaced with the fold up. And Debbie's
my son-in-law.
son-in-law said you'd take the old one out and put the new one on, no cost.
Do we have prices?
So what it would cost to do it?
What they run?
Okay, so
It's no cost to do it. He said you do that for
But to
free, but
purchase the
purchasing
new.
the actual thing, I don't.
They're
If you
not
could-
too awful much.
if you can get with that and we'll get that order, And the fact that he's not taking any pay absolves the requirement of the board having to.
Okay, yeah.
Yep.
Just to make it legal, though, I would accept the motion to purchase the new tongue or the new hitch,
Yeah.
the folding hitch.
What's the?
Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Make motion to purchase a
Okay, Roland?
folding hitch.
I'll second,
Go ahead.
but we don't know a price yet, though.
No, but they're not.
They're not very much.
No. Actually, they're well below Lenny's threshold. He could purchase it without our permission.
And that's what I was gonna bring up.
Yeah, it doesn't even have to be a motion.
No, I just,
It's like you could go on Tractor
Amazon.
Supply.
yeah, Tractor Supply.
Yeah, I figured we'd go to Tractor
Get a
Supply or the
price-
hardware
price
here,
on it.
you know, and
Okay.
check it out.
But that way it's in the minutes and we're done messing. So who wants to second it? Okay, Dolores.
Dolores section.
Okay, so
Dolores.
it's been properly moved and seconded. Any discussion? Dan,
I'm in support of the purchase. I just, I'm not sure. I think this is a good conversation for later, ask some suggestions when we get into new business. So
Okay.
the meeting and agenda, but there's like a level of micromanagement that this group's got to figure out where we land.
Right.
You know, on like Lenny's ability to go buy a tongue pitch.
right? No, I,
So.
Right.
this is well within his ability to do, but, okay, so it's been properly moved and seconded. Any discussion
Anybody got questions?
or hold on, let me finish the motion. All in favor of buying the tongue or buying the hitch? Aye.
Aye.
All opposed,
Aye.
nay? Motion's carried.
All right.
Any questions for Debbie number 2, number 1?
No.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so
Appreciate that.
I'm just gonna hop in. I know it's getting late, so I'm gonna start firing through, so hopefully everybody sticks with me. In my section, you should have a Kelly Blue Book report of the Jeep Patriot. We have a 2011 Jeep Patriot.
Yeah.
What I would like to do on the Jeep Patriot is to have the Food Bank of the Food Bank of Lincoln purchase the Jeep from ACCOA, and then they would use that for their homebound food program. Because instead of selling the Jeep and not getting anything other than, because, you know, we instead of selling the Jeep completely, we can still use the Jeep. So what I would like to do is to use, we can do the exact amount. I had rounded up to $7,500 to use $7,500 from the Food Bank of Lincoln's account to purchase the Jeep, thus making it a part of the food bank's program. And then using those funds, that $7,500 to then purchase towards a new non-emergency medical transportation vehicle. I've also written a grant to United Way for $5,000. It is not a guaranteed approval that they may fund, but I also wrote a grant. We should know in a few weeks if they're going to approve that. But approving or not, we would use that $7,500 towards the purchase of a new transportation vehicle. I believe we paid about 27,000 roughly for a new transportation vehicle. I could get this board a more detailed, I can identify, right now there's about 6 or 7 and they're being sold up really quickly. And I would like to keep the same person that we bought it before, which is new mobility, Freedom Motors, I believe, in down south at that particular place. And they do the conversions. They already have the vans converted. So I would like to continue to still use that vendor. So what I would like to do is to have the board to approve the purchase from the Food Bank of Lincoln of the Jeep. And then we could use the funds to buy the non-emergency medical transportation vehicle. Now, because we're moving the Jeep out of the non-emergency medical transportation program, that's going to make us down a Jeep. So, or down a vehicle. So we're going to have to make sure that in the next 2 weeks that we agree on purchasing the vehicle. So then we're not, because you already know that we're hitting 130 trips just last month. So we definitely want to make sure that we're able to still provide services and not going to be hiccup in services. So that's number one.
How many vehicles do we have?
We have a
Right
total
now.
of three.
What?
Three.
For
If-
transportation.
For transportation, but if you take away the Jeep, we have two.
So do you really think we need another one for transportation? Or could we wait until we do need it and see that we're gonna need it
I came
continually?
by here the other day,
You
all
what?
3 vehicles were gone.
I mean, did you just hear her report that all three vehicles are being used?
Right,
And
And
we have
the,
more requests than we have.
but then we have supply.
In fact, that
I'd love to buy two more vehicles, but we don't, I mean, that's what she just said. We have more requests than what we can offer.
So my only question with the whole process is, I'm just trying to just be fiscally responsible with what we're doing. I think this, just to make sure the board agrees that this checks the box that this is service for seniors, like the purchase of a vehicle, a van. And I'm asking right now, I guess, before I pose my second question,
what, I didn't hear you.
just making sure that the purchase of a new van, you know, in this kind of exchange checks the biggest box for this organization, that it expands programming for seniors in the county.
Which I think it definitely does.
I'm just kind of looking around for like a little
Yeah.
bit of body language. I
Yeah.
guess, you know. Yeah. Okay, so I think that's mostly a maybe, yes.
Yes, it
Okay,
does.
So then the second question that I have is just like, Lenny, in your mind, like, where does the 22.5-ish come from? That would be the difference between the Jeep proceeds from the food bank of Lincoln to purchase this, knowing that we're about at the break-even point right now, so you're probably looking at a couple years, you know, to be able to pay that off. I mean, likely, you know, as you work through this, I mean, is it just proposing it comes from millage
Exactly.
funds at
It-
this
it-
point?
and
And that's
it-
what this group's gonna have to.
Right, so then it would be coming from our general fund. This is the reason why we asked for the increase in our mill, is to expand our services and expand our reach and expand the things that we've been doing. So this was allocated and programmed and budgeted and figured out over countless hours with our team so that we could provide these services.
Well,
outside of taking this Jeep, turn it over to food service. Does that mean to the kitchen to go around delivering stuff?
No,
Or
no,
just for the
just-
food bank?
just for the food bank. So she can load up those boxes. So the seniors that can't get here to come pick up a box. Because the only truck that we have for that is the big U-Haul. And we can't have the big U-Haul going down people's driveways to
Right.
dropping off boxes
Yeah.
of food. The Jeep then becomes that extra avenue that we can get those boxes of food to those seniors who can't come get their box.
And then secondly, would the Jeep pull that trailer okay, or is that a little bit too much on the?
The Jeep could pull it if it's not weighted down, and I do believe with another hitch, we wouldn't have that problem that we had last summer, where the Jeep was bottoming out a little bit, because that hitch just made the whole trailer sit awkward. So if we put a new hitch, I believe that Jeep and that trailer should pull it just fine.
I found when I drove that Jeep a few times that the transmission didn't sound quite right, especially taking off and going up the hill.
Yeah, I did too.
Well, we have the U-Haul. The U-Haul is big enough to pull the trailer, but I mean, I want to just use the Jeep for the food bank. And if we can just do that and agree to that, that would be,
that's all just.
that's really all we're wanting to do.
And
is
why do we need it for the food bank?
To do the homebound delivery meals that we've been doing.
Of food boxes,
Food
not
boxes.
meals.
The food boxes, the homebound, we gave out 220 boxes this past month.
Right, but that's not all seniors that's coming to get that.
We have a homebound program that is in part of that has a specific group of people that we contact and say, we have your box.
Right,
So then we are trying to now be able to just deliver their box to them, because a lot of them could not get their box. And either staff is taking boxes, direct care workers are taking boxes, our home delivered meal people are taking boxes to people, they're loading up 6 or 7, and if it's on their route, they go and drop a box. So this will alleviate that, so then they would have their own vehicle and they could just do that. And then our other programs wouldn't have to catch the slack on all the other sides.
Again, you're not recommending purchase right now, the van or. any
I'm not
kind of
recommending, I
vehicle
just
right
want to purchase the Jeep, just the $7,500 from the food bank account to purchase the Jeep, so that could go there, and then we would have $7,500 in hold to purchase the new vehicle, and then I would identify with the transportation coordinator, the vehicle that we want, and I will pitch it to the board, and then we'll go from there. We're good to go? Can we do that?
Any further, yeah,
Then I can use the Jeep to take the trailer up to the,
Yep. Yep.
because we got, pellet lift in that we wouldn't be able to.
We're looking for a motion.
Yep, that's all I need, motion and approval.
To sell the Jeep to the food.
to the food bank
Right,
for $7,500.
$500, yep.
We have a
Are
motion.
are we just taking the Jeep problems from this group and giving the Jeep problems to this group?
No, because the Jeep problems is not going along, they're not going to Detroit.
Yeah, it's the big
Keep it
runs,
close.
The food bank's only doing
just
local.
local.
Right, I
Here,
know,
stuff.
but that's a lot of miles. If you're talking about delivering that 220
That's not,
meals,
but
Well,
you're,
it's not like going down to
It's short.
Detroit and Ann Arbor.
Short.
and it's
Right.
not, and it's not all 120, it may be 40 out of the 110 or the 220. You know, there's a subgroup in there.
Everyone else still come to get their food.
Like
This is just
you-
people that can't make
You
it.
personally, how many boxes do you personally deliver every time you do a box?
I deliver 9 and,
Okay, so that 9 gets put back into the Jeep. I know that,
but
there's
why
some-
though? But why? Why would I'm delivering them personally to my house. These people come and get them. They could come right here and get them. So why do we need a Jeep to do what I'm doing for nothing?
because your 9 has the capability, doesn't mean the other 40 do. See what I'm saying?
The homebound
don't
ones
have
can't get
vehicles.
out.
Yes.
Well, I don't know if I agree with that. If they can get out and come up to the pop-up pantry, they can get out and go to Chris Mart, they can get out and do this and that.
Not the
Why can't
homebound
they
ones.
come
The
and get a,
homebound
The
ones-
homebound
Homebound
ones
ones
don't.
can't, they're
the ones that
homebound.
don't have vehicles.
I understand there's some that don't have vehicles, but they have a kid, they have a neighbor, they have, I
But
don't
that's,
know.
but that's assuming a lot. That's assuming that they have these
Some don't.
resources.
Well, so far, they've done it.
Well, I mean, that's the thing. Then what are we spending our money on? The whole point is to help the seniors. So if we're gonna be spending our money to help the seniors, are we gonna then say, okay, if we're gonna help the seniors on our conditions, or we're just gonna help the seniors? Yeah, who cares if 3 people get over on me? If 3 people get over on me and they have the capability of leaving their house, okay, but if I help 50 other people behind it, I'm okay with being screwed by 3 people because I helped the 50. I mean, that's the big game that we're trying to play. We're trying to help as many people in our community. I mean, I guess that's what I'm trying to assume is that's the position of the board, is we're trying to help. And we have money that has been allocated for the Food Bank of Lincoln to help with the food bank provide food for the community. So we're not losing any money because this is money that was already donated for the purposes of doing what we're doing.
Any other questions?
I mean, by all means, I want you to ask questions. I want you to get it behind you. You know, I want you guys to continue. I'm not looking for a rubber stamp board. I want you guys to kind of, but you know, I want you guys to understand what you're doing. And sometimes it takes more than just coming to a meeting. It's actually coming downstairs and being a part of the agency and watching what we do. These people downstairs bust their butts for this community. We have tripled the amount of services that we have done for this community. And you know what? I bust my butt, almost $600,000 in federal dollars that we've gotten into this agency. That was 0 before I came here. So we can get these programs, so we can help our community.
So I'm gonna make a motion that Lincoln, Food Bank of Lincoln purchases the Jeep for $7,500.
Okay, so we have a
I'll
motion.
second.
It's been seconded. It's been properly moved and seconded. Do we have any further discussion? Any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, all in favor, aye. All opposed?
Yeah. You don't have
Oh,
to
wait,
thank me.
we're spending money. We gotta
Yeah,
do
we gotta do
a roll call. I'm sorry. My bad. I'm
Yeah.
tired. Roll call vote. I'm sorry.
Okay, Dan,
Yes.
let me go down. I gotta get my list, just a second. Dolores,
Yes.
Kathleen,
Yes.
Roland,
Yes.
Dan,
Yes.
and Mike,
Yes.
and myself, yes. So,
So Dolores,
all,
to make sure, your hesitation was on the quality of the Jeep at this point. And
She what?
your concern was about the quality of the Jeep and just passing it on to the food bank. What had nothing to do with the swappable vehicles.
Right. There's a, I mean, would you prefer we sell the Jeep and buy something else? Because that's gonna take a little bit more time.
And money.
And look, we've already prepared this. We put this into your books. We've already given you guys options of what vehicles to pass. So we shouldn't have to wait weeks for the next board meeting. This is already in your board books that have options of what we could have purchased. We could have just been like, yes, use it for this, and we want option number 1 or number 2 or number 3. That is in your board book under the directors section,
Executive.
under the executive directive tab. It has all of those things that I'm gonna be talking about, 1, 2, and 3 for your review. That has sticker prices, has all the bells and whistles, the pictures of all the things. Jesse takes a lot of time putting these books together for everybody so you can review, so you have this information. You get it a week ahead. We used to never do that. You just showed up last year. Now you get a book.
Yep. And just for the record, the motion carries.
yeah,
I have just a quick question. When this pandemic virus stuff is done, are we gonna continue with all this food all the time? Is this an ongoing thing year after year after year?
There's a long-term plan for the food bank of Lincoln. Yes, there is a
Okay.
long-term plan. It's going to develop. We're working, I don't want to put so much stuff out into the public as of yet, but there is a long-term 5 to 10-year plan for this program.
Okay.
Okay, number 2 on the agenda item. Let me move quicker. Okay, that took a little bit. All right, so we just got approved, after a year, we got approved for the USDA, that's the United States Department of Agriculture Rural Development Grant. It is a matching funds grant. We had to match 50% of what we were asking for. So we asked for $50,000 and we had to match it up to 25%. This board was brought in on this back in June of last year. And we talked about this. Yes, you can go look it up. We brought it up. We submitted all the paperwork for this. We got approved for that grant. So then all of us are able to celebrate now because now we have technology. The total project after we got with our IT department came out to be $85,988. All the things that we purchase are going to go to the new site, are going to be portable when we move to the new thing. Okay? So that is that. Now, if you would like to sit down and go through each individual purchase, I will be happy to do this apart from an open meeting, or because there are over 350 different items. And if you don't know what a punch down cable is from a rack board, from a Ruckus Wireless, you're not going to know what all of these things are going to do. But I'd be happy to sit down and go through it with you.
I'm comfortable not doing that.
Okay.
The federal accountability on.
And before there is any question of impropriety, everything that I submitted to USDA has to be accounted for and had to be prior approved. That means I had to sit down with our IT department and write down 359 specific different items, and they had to say yes to each one. And because of the pandemic, it went through changes 4 different times, 25% technology, we had to submit it 4 different times. So we're good to go there. Just giving you a heads up.
Thank you, Lenny, for being your
I
organization.
have a question
Yeah.
though.
Okay.
In that letter from USDA dated April 13, 2021, it said general public meeting. And you're supposed to put it in the newspaper? Was that done?
This is the first time I'm putting this in the information. I'm letting this go into the public that we just received funds. My next step after this is to get with the newspaper, Mary Weber, because she's not here today, and to notify that we received the funds.
Okay, I understand. But what is the guy doing downstairs? Is that part of this?
Yes,
But it said you're not supposed to do any work until you notify the general public. According to this letter. Read the letter. You're advised against taking any action or incurring any obligation.
well, this wasn't the information that was given to me by the representative.
Well, it's in the letter right here.
Well, all the stuff that he's doing downstairs is unboxing and inventory. So that's what he's doing downstairs. Unboxing.
Although somebody said their computer wasn't working, so apparently he's hooking up new computers.
He's not.
But it said
Their
he's
current,
supposed to-
current stuff, Mrs. Fortunas, I really wish that you would just trust me on this. He's unboxing and inventory. We have a program called Asset Title. Everything is labeled. It's labeled as USDA with a scannable reader. And he has to take everything that we're getting from out of these boxes and catalog them. We have yet to
Understand that.
deploy anything.
You know, they said you're supposed to have an article in a newspaper advising the public of this.
I just said,
We're not talking about inventory, we're talking about following the USDA guidelines.
And I just said, right after this meeting, this is a public meeting. I just put this information out there to the public as of this meeting. And now I'm going to do an article, hopefully to celebrate that we just got this. Like I said, no items have been deployed. We still are just inventory. That's what he's doing. He's taking an inventory of everything that we're doing, that we've received. We haven't even received all the items yet. Everything that you have a question for, I do have an answer for you.
I know, but I work for the federal government, and when they say you have to have a general public meeting, I think they mean it.
This is our.
You're supposed to inform the public, not just this board,
This is a public meeting.
This is a public meeting.
but you didn't notify anybody to come and attend and take
The
this.
notice goes out for a public meeting before
Every
every
year,
single meeting.
That's on the website. But this says you're supposed to notice, put it in the newspaper.
We're going to do that. We have another meeting. We have another meeting coming in a couple of weeks that will satisfy the conditions.
No.
Okay, are we good to move on from that point?
Right there.
Okay, next, I want to reiterate the goals of this board, okay? So that you guys don't think this is Lenny's show. And I put this in the board book. The very next thing, ACCOA Board of 2012. They drafted a resolution to build a new senior center. That was back in 2012. The very next piece of that talks about how Susan, where did it go? I think it should be in there. How she did a PowerPoint with this board and ended up having, it says, oh, it got mixed up in there. It should be this document right here. Okay?
Yep.
So this is the document. It says the DK Design Group. This organization back in 2012 reached out and guess what, Ms. Fortunas? I pulled the
I
meeting.
know I was the county commissioner on this board when that happened, so I am aware of all of that, and I went to all the meetings and Lincoln. about
Well,
it.
but that's the thing.
But that's 9 years
I'm
ago.
doing my presentation, please.
And from 2 million, you went up to 25 million.
Ms. Fortunas,
Okay.
as
You're
this
supposed to
was,
have told the time, I thought. Or am I the only one that's being?
I haven't even finished.
He's in his presentation.
I'm in the middle of my presentation. As I was just saying.
Keeps getting interrupted.
As I was just saying, yes, I pulled the minutes and you were on that board. You were there. From when this board had the exact same vision that this board currently has. Guess who else was there? Some of the other members that are still sitting here.
Like me.
Exactly. You were the president at that particular time. So
I can't remember if I was
No,
president.
you weren't.
I think either you were one of the board members or officers.
And I took pictures of this up here, the landings out there, the bathrooms downstairs, the bathrooms up here, the entrances and everything. nothing in this building is handicap accessible.
Exactly.
And they want to put $80,000 worth of air conditioning in the spot up there and have all of them go down each room in that and cool this place.
So, so exactly. So basically the continuing the presentation is that Susan did the exact same process that I did back in 2012. She contacted USDA Rural Development and said, hey, how can we do this? They said, at this time, the Flint water crisis is going to suck up all dollars. You probably won't get the $2 million. Jump forward a decade. Times have changed. Monies have changed. New people are in office. This has a new initiative. So the problems, the problems that we have in this building is still the problems. Nothing has changed. The need for a new center is still there. The other needs are still there. So this is the directions of the board from back then till now. So by all means, you can ask questions. Like I said, I just wanted to highlight that fact because I found that because that was in Susan's notes. And all I'm doing is continuing what the board has asked someone to pick up the standard and do.
Any further questions for Lenny?
Okay.
Have we been approved that, as a township approved, letting us put a building down there if we decide to?
We're putting the cart before the horse. So the next agenda item is to see where we want to put it. So I got one more thing before we talked about that, because you brought up something last meeting and I wanted to make sure that I addressed it this meeting. So last meeting, you were like, is people going to get their say? Is there going to be any type of public interactions on this? I put in here from Larry Molnar and the other people that are working in this group, we're going to be creating an advisory panel. This document right here that has all the questionnaires is going to be sent out to everyone either via SurveyMonkey, direct mailer, or we're going to have a website. Okay, so then that these people can put their information. We also will have a town hall to where people can come in and give us ideas. We're going to create an advisory committee of community partners. This thing is going to be bigger than us because it requires other people to buy in. We have other people. We've also reached out to the schools. We've reached out to Oklahoma Health Center. We reached out to Michigan Health. We reached out to PA. It is bigger than just the senior center doing it itself. The senior center is just the antagonist. We're just the catalyst. We're just the people that have pushed the ball down the hill. It has been heavy lifting for a year to get it up to this point, and we're almost at the finish line to see if we can get it passed. So that's where we're at. That is the questionnaire. Did you have a chance to review it and look at it?
I can't even find it.
It's in the executive director section.
The blue, well, at least in my thing, there's a little blue sticky tab. Should be the last item under the executive director report.
So just to summarize, I guess, where we're at. So you're proposing to do a feasibility study. No land has been purchased or secured, obviously, at this point. So you do the community feasibility study. You hold the community forums to try to gather feedback, I think, on like the whole process at this point. And then that advisory committee analyzes the feasibility study and then makes a recommendation on.
We would have to secure the site because the site is all part of the feasibility. So, and that's what MISHA requires, and that's what also USDA requires. So the feasibility is all working through there. So the first launch of this is going to be either May or June. I have to get back with Larry this month. We're meeting with MEDC as well. But yes, there would be an advisory that would advise this board in working in concert with this board on, okay, I think we can do this. I think we should cut this. I think we should add this.
So the site purchase comes first.
Site purchase come
I'm
first.
just trying to get a chronological order for everybody here, so we have a good handle on it.
Mhm.
Okay, so, and you're not proposing to make a motion to choose a site today, but you did provide some documents that.
I would like to make a motion. Here's why. Okay. So jumping to the next part of the presentation. We have been working for the last 4.5 months, trying to work with ACCOA Health Centers as well as the school to acquire the site, the original site plan. Unfortunately, at this particular time, we have yet to have a workable agreement between ACCOA and ACCOA Health Centers. They were not, we had explained to them that they owned additional property south of them. They were in denial. They said that they did not. They did a survey, and lo and behold, they own 3 acres. By that time, I reached back out to the village and I talked to them about the 40 acres up on the hill. I talked to them about other properties. We had also identified one particular property that was available for sale, which is right on Barlow Road. Okay, this is the Dollar General property. Okay, right next to Dollar General. When Dollar General came into Lincoln, they purchased about 17 acres. However, they split it into 2 parcels. One parcel they built about 3.5 acres on where the Dollar General is, and then they have the remaining parcel at 13.66 acres. They are willing to sell their remaining parcels. I had the SIDOC group talk with their holding group to get some of the previous surveys, some of the previous soil boring, some of the previous topographical things, because they would have already had to do all of that to do it. Now, we can't use those surveys for our new project because MISTA and USDA requires it need to be within 6 months of the project. So yes, there's going to be a little bit of a redo on some of that. Okay. I cannot help if somebody doesn't want to sell their property. Okay. The whole point, the board agreed, is that we would do the surveys to make sure the property could be built, because one of the concerns of one of our board members was, I don't want to buy it and then we can't build on it. So we made the motion to do the surveys to make sure it's buildable land. So this, unfortunately for us, this has already been done back in 2018 when the Dollar General has already done. So we know the preliminary. They're willing to sell the 13.66 acres to us at a cheaper rate than what we were going to get at the ACCOA Health Center. Okay, SIDOC group also took an opportunity, and I'm going to put this up on the screen so that everybody is able to see this. And I apologize for going a little bit longer because I really just wanted this to be under 2 hours, and I really apologize. So for everyone at home, this is what you're looking at. So this would be the feasible layout of the building. So as you see here in the top right corner, that is, we're looking at north and south. So this is Barlow Road. Okay, so we would have almost 4 acres of frontage. That's right here on the side. Okay, they took our 2 projects and they put it into the plan. Okay, and Dolores, they looked at, like I said, we'll get out there and we'll take a look at your tree. Dolores there's a beautiful oak tree that's out there and she doesn't want to chop it down. So we're going to try to look at that tree and see what we can do. But there is the senior center, the new senior center that will be up on the hill right behind. And there will be some partitions because there is requirements from USDA, so we can't share the parking lot. So there may be some boulders or something that we put in there that make it look nice. And then those are the 2 housing projects that will be right off from the road and it'll be about 30 feet from the road, which requires. The new guidelines for MISTA just came out, and it's now favorable towards rural projects now. So the likelihood of feasibility of this project just went up a lot. So that is a good thing, especially when we're now having this ready, but it all starts with the site. I don't think we should continue to just wait and be in limbo with the ACCOA Health Centers. I think we should just move and close on this property. It's in the village of Lincoln. It's not like we're moving to a different city. We just moved literally 0.65 miles down the road.
To a bigger property.
To a bigger property that we own more. So instead of getting 7.1 acres, we would do 13. Unfortunately, it does not help the school. We can't really partner with some of the things, But I went to the school board meetings and there were still some concerns about having some of our programs so close to the back of their building. They had some real security concerns. So that alleviates something. It doesn't mean that we can't partner with them. It doesn't mean that we can't do some other things. Here's the exciting part about this. This puts us right across the street from the ARA site. That's huge possibilities of what we can do in the ARA site. So what I would like to do is to go ahead and close on this. So we have this in hand. We would draft up, I would get Dave Cook to give us a purchase order with the overlaying group, who is the owner of the property, to sell us to it. The price tag that they asked for was $45,000.
Are we supposed to be out here at a certain time?
I'm
We
trying.
were supposed to be out of here almost an hour ago, but yeah.
So
Did we already put a down payment on that property out by the health center?
nope. They've never gotten us an offer sheet. They've never signed anything. Every time that we've come together, every time we come together and can satisfy a condition, they give us another condition. You can't build here, or you can't build this on here. You need to change this layout. I don't like that. You need to change that layout. And we did that 3 times.
Lenny, how much other site work would have to be done post-purchase? Like, because obviously Kathleen had concerns about all the geographical studies and soil surveys. So just trying to wrap my mind around this board, like, are we looking at another 20 grand plus the sale price to just figure out if we can buy there?
Yeah,
We
to
wouldn't-
level it off and whatever.
Well, not that one, I even
No,
get
that's not
that.
it.
Yeah.
The 2018 stuff that they already have, because they already did a lot of that when they got the feasibility to put that there. That's usable. So the SIDOT group is able to review that to say it's good to build here. There would be a new environmental study that has to be done that is required for MISTA and that is required for USDA. And then I believe that there would be one other study that they would require.
Probably
But-
soil borings.
What's that?
Probably soil borings, you know,
Oh, yeah.
wetlands. You're gonna put your septic real close to a wetlands? And where on this map are you gonna have wells for these structures? I don't see anything about wells.
This is a preliminary, when we get a more detail. I did not want them to spend their $5,000 giving us a huge detailed map. I just wanted to give a preliminary so that you can see. But they have a civil engineer that will sit there and go through, once we say, this is where we want everything. And then they will go through and dot all the i's and cross all the t's. And then we'll have all of that. They'll come out and view the site. Right now, we don't have a site, so we're trying to secure a site. Once we secure the site, everything will go with there.
Did the
I've
township
also,
approve it? No.
why would they need?
Why would we even think about buying it until the township says, yes, you can build on it? What if we buy it, then the township says, no, forget it, you're not building there?
But that wouldn't, okay. Is that still Guston Township, Pam?
Yes, it is.
Yes,
And it's forest.
Okay.
yes, it's
recreation.
partially Guston Township and partially the village of Lincoln.
Right. I've already got the approval of the Village of Lincoln.
We know
They pretty
village
much,
of Lincoln.
they know.
And I think that, I'm not 100%, but I believe that that particular site may already be considered what it would need to be for building on something like this. Whereas the other, we were going to have a special meeting and change it, change it this way. This would, I think, is already approved. That whole hill, I think, is approved. I would have to look at the book, but I almost think it's already approved to be used in the way that we want to use it as the ACCOA for placement for homes and stuff like.
We have to have something in writing from the township to say,
Yeah.
Yeah.
yes, you're gonna build, you can
Yeah.
build there.
We would,
Yeah.
I've got the township zoning ordinance here, and that area is forest recreation. And you can't
That-
use commercial, there, which Dollar General is. However, in forest rec, you cannot put housing.
Right.
You cannot
Oh,
put
okay.
housing
Now-
and commercial with the
together.
building in the same piece of property according to their zoning ordinance. And they have to have a special land use permit. You have to apply for that. It has to be posted. And they have to write why they are deviating from their zoning ordinance and their master plan, because this is in their master plan also.
Well, this is the reason why we have an architectural firm like Side
They
Art
don't
Group.
do that. You have to do this.
That, okay. They have people that help with the project, so they have all of this. We've
Right.
already met. we
They've
met
already
with-
come once to us.
Adam.
Yeah.
They've
Yes,
already come
yeah,
on.
it's all in the bills. However, you have to have an approved special land use permit deviating from their ordinance that comes to this board.
But it's almost telling me I need to purchase the fuzzy dice, the wheel cover, some nice rims before we purchase the car.
And if their public doesn't want that, if their township does not want that, and they say no, which they have every right to do, when the public goes to their meeting, and
That's
they
the-
say they don't want housing there, or if they can't get approval to put housing in a commercial site, you are stuck after you purchased it, because you cannot put housing there.
Okay.
You cannot mix two uses like that, according to their own zoning. I copied the blessed thing and I read the blessed thing.
Okay. So the whole point is that we can have this discussion with the public. That was the whole point of answering the question earlier, is that we will have this. We will explain this to the public when we go to the public comment section, when we explain the project. For the most part, I've gotten enough positive feedback for all of our projects that people want to see this happen. Community members want to see this happen, okay? There's a small subset, I'm going to say emphasis on small subset of people that may be opposed to that, and may be opposed to certain parts of that. So for the most part, 90% of the people who I've come across are in favor of this project. We're still going to talk to everybody.
So I was just gonna, I think the community support is a different conversation. than
Exactly.
zoning.
Yeah.
We just need,
Zoning has to
exactly,
be-
we just need to
So-
purchase the property, that's it.
No, the
Yeah.
zoning has to be in place. You have to get approval from the planning commission and the Guston Township Board to allow a mixed use with residential and commercial.
Kathleen, would the current owner apply for that first before we purchase it? And I don't know who to even ask.
I
that.
don't
Well,
even
and
know how.
you-
I don't know what
you
their
wouldn't
zoning
because-
application says.
Because they have no vested interest. The group that owns the property has already bought what they're gonna do and they used it for. It behooves on us to buy it, then to move forward on it. So it's us again having to purchase the piece of property. If we were in to pay for 7.1 acres, the same price, and all we're doing is getting a cheaper but more property just further down the road, it's pretty much the same exact thing. We're not moving the project to Harrisville. We're not moving it to Barton City. We're just moving it down the road with somebody who wants to sell. They're not gonna jerk us around for 4 months. I'm not saying ACH jerks us around. I'm just saying that we don't have to continue to wait and wait and wait and wait. We now have a property that's viable, that we can close on, it's in the same amount, in the same budget, so we can close on the site this month. We can work out a purchase order. I can get with Dave Cook, we can draft that, and we can close. And then we can go to Pam, to the village, because now we have something feasible, hard, concrete, to sit in front of them. We own this. Can we do it? And then they would be like, yes, because now it's real. Let's go.
But shouldn't we, before we own that property, shouldn't the township say, yes, you can do this? We will allow, because why do we want it if they're gonna tell us we can't build on it?
But the people who sits on these boards, we've already gauged the temperature of the room.
But we don't have anything in writing that
And the
says,
township has to put it in the newspaper and have a
Yeah.
public meeting.
And that's the whole,
And-
that's
and
what
their
I'm saying that we're gonna do.
You're mixing two things. You're mixing apple and oranges. You're talking about the community that wants this thing. But before that community can interfere with that, you have to have permission from the township to mix use, because you told us a couple months ago, you want to build these housing units, which is against forest and recreation guidelines in their own zoning ordinance. Go on the website and find it. You can read it for yourselves.
I
And you
understand. I met
said
with
the
Senator Thomas
housing
about
units
this.
were gonna pay for this building. Now, what happens if you can't build a housing, you can't fill the housing? So that means you'll never build a community center, and how much of this interest on millage money have you spent on these two sites, and if it's a no-go?
Okay, you're snowballing.
No, I'm
Right,
not.
but- but-
I'm
but
logical.
you're bringing
I've
in
been on
all,
planning commission.
I'm trying to fight the boxer that we're talking about, which is the site, not everything else. Let's talk about the site. So the site is what we're talking about right now, not the other things. I will be happy to bring you up to speed and
I
sit
am.
down with you and meet with you face to face with the board chair, and we will walk this thing through with you. If you're so true, we have done this. I have reached out to you for weeks and saying, we have to do this with you. But,
You
right,
said you were gonna do it the first 2 weeks of April, and you didn't call me until near the end of April. So I didn't put you off. I had a doctor's appointment downstate.
okay.
So careful what you say.
Aren't we putting the cart before the horse? Shouldn't we find out for sure that they're gonna let us put housing and a building on there before we purchase it? Because why do we want it if we can't build on it? If the township is gonna say, nah, forget it, we don't want that. Then we've got this 17 acres,
We don't have
Spend-
17 acres. It'd be
or whatever
13.
it is.
Right.
We've got property that we can't use for what we want.
Were you standing next to the president of the village?
Yes,
Did
she's
she
one
walk-
person though.
I understand that, but did we not go through the preliminaries of seeing and testing the waters?
But according to the paper, she said she was gonna check with their planning commission, but she didn't know. I remember reading that. So the village president didn't know because she cannot make
The village, the
Planning
article
commission.
that you're talking about has nothing to do with the village because our project was never in the village. So I don't know what you're referring to.
the one supervisor was talking about.
It had to be in the village, because why was she there?
Because this property is half in the village,
This is, yes.
but there was no paper article. The article was for something at the ACCOA Health Center, which is in Guston Township.
No, it was her Asphalt County review, I read it.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you, it's in Guston Township, so the village wouldn't have had anything to do with it.
You just told us it was
Yes,
partially.
they
in
do.
Lincoln.
This site, guys, this site, what's on the
That's what we're
screen?
talking about.
So it's, okay, if,
Well, it's like you're all talking in circles. I mean,
well, I'm feeling like, okay, yeah, like it's like a tennis match right now, kind of going back and forth. So I'm hearing concern about
Zoning.
making sure the zoning's correct, and that's way out of my wheelhouse. Like I have very little, if any, knowledge
One
about.
looks like
no,
three.
Well, no, I'm just saying,
I know.
I'm just summarizing. So that's why you gotta have different strengths on different boards in terms of trying to be able to figure things out. So I'm also hearing urgency to move forward with this, probably, to start the process and the grant and things like that. What questions need to be answered before the board is comfortable with moving forward with the purchase? It seems to be, and then who needs to be at the table, to answer or ask those questions so that they can come back to this board and then make a more formal presentation.
You have to worry about
I've been on a planning commission
expenditures
for
on
14
property.
years.
That hill up there, the city, Lincoln owns that, and we can get it free.
No,
Ron, you're talking
We're on
about
two
something-
different
Yeah.
things.
we're talking about zoning. An applicant has to fill out an application to submit to the township to ask for a site review and they're gonna need a special land use permit. Because that's forest recreation designation, which does not allow residential. So that's against their zoning ordinance, it's against their master plan. Their planning commission, Guston Townships, has to review your application and the site to determine if they want to void out parts of their master plan, void out parts of their zoning ordinance, and to give you a reason, and to give this board give their community, their township residents, a reason why they are going against their written policy to allow a mixed use on this piece of property.
So the question comes into like, do we have to go have that conversation without owning the property? Can you even have that conversation or?
I don't know what their application
Yeah.
says, but you have to submit an application, you have to have a fee paid, and their planning commission has to review it, post it in the newspaper, and let their township people comment on it before it goes to the board. And if the board decides to overrule the planning commission, they have to justify the reasons because they kicked their zoning ordinance and their master plan out of the water.
But that meeting is between the board president, which is on our
No.
board, and the people. We're meeting with the Guston supervisor and their planning committee. We've already talked about this.
I know, I read that,
So
but you have to do an application. They can't
I
make a-
understand that. We
No, we're
haven't
just
had a
not talking
chance,
about the same things, I'm sorry.
ma'am, we haven't had a chance to submit an application because we haven't had a site plan to submit them. Because why submit an application when we don't have a site and a site plan? Because we would just be doing an initial what? What are we submitting? So to have a site and a site plan, you now have a reason for them to have a consideration. Because why would they change a piece of property for somebody who's not bought it yet?
Because they
So
could,
then-
they could fill appointment also.
Excuse me. Can I just ask a question? I'm an appraiser and have been on zoning boards similar to you and am very familiar with that. Would it not be typical to make an offer subject to the approval that the intended use?
Absolutely.
That's fine. We can do that.
That's like the
That-
first step, right?
We can submit that. That's really, I want to make the process of moving toward purchasing this site. So we can say, subject to approval, we can put all the conditions in the purchase order. Because the person that wants to sell it doesn't want the property. So we can be
Right.
moving forward.
Yep,
So
and then that would allow you to move forward, but I don't necessarily think the transfer of the property has to be made if you initiate
If it
that
fails.
contingency, because you would have, if you can't approve it the way you want it, then it's not, the land isn't going to be of the same use to you. So I guess I didn't know you were already doing that because I'm coming in at the tail end of some of this.
No,
so.
I understand. Exactly. A lot of people are coming in on the tail end of this, but I appreciate your comment. We can make a motion to do that. And we can draft a purchase agreement. I just want them to know that we are interested, the board is interested in moving forward with the project. So can we do that?
Contingent
Right.
upon.
Contingent
Right.
upon
So, yeah.
Augustin Township's approval and authorization that we will get in writing. I will reach out and get the approval of the other stuff.
Okay, so what we're looking
No
for,
money involved at this point.
Right.
only if
Right.
what the motion would be, if I'm understanding properly, the motion would be something along the lines of approval of the purchase of the land contingent upon
Yeah.
zoning approval
Right.
by both the township and the village. And then we would be obligated. If the zoning is approved by both entities, then we would be obligated. Is that correct?
That sounds good.
Do we want to include in the offer a dollar amount for good faith, just to have it all on the records?
We can say, we can put a deposit of 10%, 15% down so that it's a good faith, we can do that. So you can amend your motion
But
to
you usually
to
get the
include.
deposit back.
Yes.
Because that's basically what we did for Alcona Health Center. We were
Yeah.
gonna make a
Right.
deposit, and based off of everything that went away, it was either gonna get the deposit back.
Yep.
So we can do a good faith of 10%, so that would be 15,
Well, you
or
said they have-
4,500.
If they have no other competitive offers, I don't even know.
Yeah.
It could just be like $500, you know?
Right.
Right.
just
Yeah.
to-
Absolutely,
so
yeah.
does-
It's not a
Would someone like to make a motion? I'm as board chair, I can't, or I shouldn't.
so It's a wordy motion.
I'll make a motion on purchasing property on contingency that we can use for what we.
For the zoning.
For zoning approval. Okay, so the motion on the table is to purchase
With a good faith.
with a
deposit
good
of
faith deposit of,
$500.
yeah, I'd say 500 unless they request more than we can amend.
Something, but if it doesn't go through,
Right,
then we get the deposit back.
okay, so the motion, as I understand it, look, just so that I'm clear, is to move forward with the purchase of property contingent upon zoning approval by both the village and the township with a $500 good faith refundable deposit. Is that correct?
Right.
Okay, so we have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, this time we'll let Stan do it. So it's been properly moved and supported. Are there any discussion, any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, this is a
Aye.
motion to spend money, so we do need a roll call vote.
Dan O'Connor,
Yes.
Dolores Schlicker,
Yes,
Mike Maturin,
Yes,
Kathleen Vashunas,
Yes,
Roland Lynch,
Yes,
Dan Weiner,
Yes.
and me, yes. Okay, that's it. All right.
all right. The motion is unanimously approved. Dan, I assume you are getting up because you have another.
Last and final thing, this is a conflict of interest policy. It was submitted to our auditor and submitted to our attorney. They both reviewed it. This is that, take your time to review it. We will talk about it next month. That's all I have for the director's report. We have 2 members who are waiting to be appointed on the call.
Yes, so we have under old business, the appointment of open board positions. This board discussed a meeting or 2 ago what we were going to do. We do have 2 openings. One is a member at large opening, one is a voting member. And the discussion was that we would appoint Will St. John to the voting position and Kim Fleming to the member at large position. Is that the understanding of the board? I would,
that's the first I've heard.
well, we didn't get Will St. John's resume, even though he was at the February meeting.
we got his resume before that.
Yeah, I think
I did. I mean, that's,
Oh.
okay, so,
so should we get one or get this?
well, we
resume
had,
or-
I mean, we had a very lengthy discussion at the board meeting about all of this. And it was
Do we have to have
decided,
A motion to approve.
we
each
do
one?
need a motion to approve.
Well,
The
actually, you
appointment.
can appoint.
Actually, I can,
You can
yeah.
just appoint the people. You don't have to. You don't have to
Right,
be
because
appointed. You
we-
can just bang the gavel and say, this is this,
Right,
this is this. and
Because
you
we
can do
actually discussed and approved it
Yes.
already. So I am appointing Will St. John to the voting position for the remainder of that term, and Kim Fleming to the member at large position for the remainder of that term.
Welcome to our board.
And thank you for stepping up.
And may God have mercy on them.
So I do have to leave here. I was gonna make some suggestions, and maybe just for everybody on a couple of the new business pieces about flow of the meeting and committee appointments. And I'm wondering if like a board retreat in June specifically for those 2 items might be a really interesting idea. Hiram Hines has a nature preserve out in Caledonia Township out there that could be a potential location. Let's have a nice setting in that area. I'm just tossing that out there for the board to kind of consider.
I
Maybe
agree.
not, maybe it's a separate, board meeting, but sometimes a retreat can generate some different types of dialogue as well.
I think that'd be great.
I think
And
it would
also
be.
next meeting, because we don't have time to get to it today, is flow of communications. We would ask that if you're going to ask specific things of the staff, it would go through our board chairs first before you ask the staff and not contact the staff directly. So you would send that information or those requests to the board chairs, and then they would send it to us, so then we can do it, because it takes time, because if all of you are firing off, asking for certain things, it takes away from their duties. So we would ask that all the requests would go through the board chairs, and then the board chairs would be able to disseminate what they're, what
So the
requests
fact
are.
that I asked for some old meeting minutes requires the board chair approval.
If you want to make it about yourself, then you can, but it's
Well, I
not.
think
I'm
that's
just
what it
asking
was,
for
but
just
that's not
a
your
flow
intent.
of information so we can streamline it and make it more efficient. Everything that you have asked, we have replied. The entire back of the book, although the contract for Mr. Gasser is in there for your review,
I saw it. I read it.
okay? But you didn't mention it. Everything that you have asked,
Well, I
we
did. I
have
had
done.
my- I had my
Everything that
input.
you have asked for, we have done and bent over backwards to make sure that you receive it in a timely manner or within the board scope or within the board meeting. So we're trying to make sure that you guys are getting everything that you're requesting, okay? I really don't like to do this in front of the public. I would love for us to sit down. Let's have a lunch. Let's have tea.
No, I
Let's sit
think
on the
we should
veranda.
be open to the
Whatever
public.
that you want to be able to do, let's do this so that people don't see this. okay? This is being recorded and broadcast.
Sorry.
It's not okay with me. And I'm sorry, because I believe a lot of this was not here. And I think as a new member, I think you should definitely get with your board chairs and sit down and see the direction of what we're trying to do and get some information.
I had 9 years.
Okay.
Okay, and along those lines, I also want to mention that we've had requests to try and keep these meetings to 2 hours.
Yeah.
You know, Dan is incredibly busy. We're all busy people.
Cut my report out if you want.
Yeah, that was only 5 minutes. We've had other board members that, you know, have to take unpaid time off from work. Or not unpaid. They either have to take unpaid time off or they have to take personal time off. And that is impinging on them. So what we need to do is keep our discussion to the agenda. We need to, you know, kind of stick to the topic at hand, because we tend to, all of us tend to go down rabbit trails at times and get into a lengthy discussion about something that wasn't even what we were talking about. So we need, you know, just, and for the public, we actually, I saw an email who, I don't know who sent it because the name wasn't on there, but it was a member of the public that complained that, you know, I can't believe you guys are putting this out there for the public. It's, you know, they said it was nothing but
A kangaroo court.
you know,
and a circus.
disruptions and all of that. So I want, you know, that was one of the reasons for my comments earlier about professionalism. We need to, you know, we have to remember, number one, that this is open to the public and this is a public entity. And we need to make sure that we are all doing our best to keep the meetings running smoothly and in a timely manner. I mean, I don't like 2-hour meetings, but because of the amount of business that we have to do, you know, that's about where we're at. But, you know, and up until, you know, a while back, we were at 2-hour meetings.
Or less.
Or less.
Right.
Usually right around the 2-hour mark. So just for future, let's try and keep to the agenda. And if we have an extra long agenda, so be it. That's fine. Because sometimes that's going to happen. But we do need to, and especially as we move forward into the building project and everything, you know, the meetings might get longer. But now that we have a full board, I'll be making board committee appointments. And a lot of this stuff can be done at the committee level.
Yep.
Speaking of which, Kathleen, I want to thank you for sending me the bylaw information that you compiled.
I sent it to you.
You emailed it to me,
I sent you. an
or you
email.
sent me an email that said you did. I haven't had, yes, you did. I looked at it yesterday. It said I've sent the email to, well, I'll show you the email anyways. So that you've put together a working draft, a clean working draft.
No, I said I provided the 2 committee members after the February meeting.
Right.
That's what I said.
That's what I'm saying. You emailed me to tell me that.
Yeah.
So I'm thanking you for doing that. I'm not trying to argue.
Oh, but you said I gave you. the-
Okay, fine, whatever. We're,
Okay.
this is what we're talking about. Okay,
No, I mean, be
so-
specific.
I'm not even
You
gonna,
know,
look, I'm thanking you for doing
I
the work. Be
appreciate
appreciative of the fact that we appreciate you.
yeah, I know.
So anyhow, I would like for the committee to, one of the things you mentioned is that you hadn't got together as a full committee. I would like for that to happen so that we can have all of the suggestions put together and then present that to the board either next month or the month after, whenever you get a chance to get that done. So, but I do appreciate the work you've done on it. That you know, with all your experience, that's important. So I do appreciate that.
Takes a lot of work too.
Yeah,
You
it does.
understand it better than I do.
Okay, so thanks, Dan. Pam, make mention
Yes.
that Dan is leaving the meeting at 1:13 PM. All right, so we said we would have time for public comment again at the end of the meeting. Is there any public comment?
If she is here, but I don't see her here, so
Who?
my sister-in-law.
Oh, okay.
She wants to talk about it being so cold up here. And
Oh,
it is.
okay.
And
Well,
they
we
have
can,
to bring
we
cards up
can,
here. Can we bring that up?
We can bring it up at the next meeting. I'll put it on the agenda about
Well, it's gonna
reopening
be
the
too
facility
late
down
next
there.
meeting.
Well, it's summer. It's summer anyway.
Yeah, and then we'll want the air.
Yeah, then we'll want air conditioning, right? Okay, so hearing and seeing no public comments, this meeting, I'll accept the motion to adjourn. Stan is nodding. Is that a motion?
Motion.
Okay, second, any discussion? Second, third, fourth, fifth. Okay, hearing and seeing no discussion, all in member of adjourning the meeting, aye?
Aye.
All opposed, nay?
Aye.
Meeting is adjourned at 1:14 PM. Thank you all.
Who did this?